taxi driver over a small amount of change. And as a result of that argument, one thing led to the other. And just because of a small amount of change, he ended up almost in life imprisonment. You know what? You and I must learn to choose our battles wisely. Many times some marriages collapse just because of how a toothpaste is pressed. One person presses the toothpaste from the bottom, the other one presses it from the middle, and it turns out to a whole argument. And guess what? Just because of how a toothpaste is pressed, it's a whole battle. There are families that have been divided just as a result of little battles. And I can tell a little story about my own family, a certain segment of my family. And guess what? For nearly my whole life, that part of my family has been fighting over a piece of property. A piece of property has divided a certain section of my extended family for many years. And guess what? Just that property. Look at the damage it's caused. Look at the division it's brought. Some people have died and gone, and this battle is still on for almost 30 to 40 years. Is it worth fighting over things like that? Is it worth splitting families and splitting communities over little things? And sometimes people are fighting over 1 city, 10 cities. People are fighting over a few yards of land where the boundary should be, and people that want to kill each other for it. You know what? We need to learn to choose our battles wisely. Some battles are not worth fighting for. Some battles, the results and the things you're going to get out of it at the end of the day, it's not worth the pain and the damage that you want to go through. Yes, there are some battles that we should fight for. We need to fight for our values. We need to fight, for things that advance human progress. You need to choose your battles and your fights very intelligently and very, very wisely. As you grow in life, I want to challenge you today that as you grow in life, that there are some battles you shouldn't fight anymore. There are some things that people do to you that you should be able to say that, hey, yesterday I would have made it a big deal, but today is a new day. I have some new wisdom nugget in my life. I'm not going to fight over that anymore. I'm not going to argue over that anymore. I'm just going to let it pass. Why? Because I'm growing. I'm becoming wiser. I'm becoming smarter. I'm becoming bigger. I'm becoming greater. And that's exactly who you are becoming. And so I want to challenge you today. Hey, choose your battles wisely. A lot of battles are not meant to advance your life. They are meant to throw you out and to throw you back and to set you back. And it's not worth fighting over. That colleague that is setting up arguments and pointing little things, hey, don't make a big deal out of it. Look at the big picture of life. Focus your life, focus your mind, and focus your attention on the bigger things of life. And guess what? Those are the things going to come to you. If you focus on the little teeny weeny aspects of life, you're going to remain small. I want to inspire you today. Hey, look at the battles that come before you. Choose only the mega ones and let a lot of those tiny battles go away. And guess what? Your life will be beautiful, will be shining, and you'll be smarter. Thank you for watching The Breakfast Show, and thank you for taking the wisdom nugget for the day. Have yourself a pleasant day.
Thank you, Dr. Kofi Osei, for that motivational message for today. Definitely worth noting, choose your battles wisely. And from that, we'll go straight to see the updates from the Weather Center. We are definitely serving you breakfast a la carte this morning. So we'll go straight to our social media trends. And guys, yes. I had such a terrible sleep because just before I shut down, I had to endure a very uncomfortable video that had just popped up on my phone in one of my groups, and the collective uproar from the women on that platform, it just let's just look at it, and then I'll come back and pick
It's
your
a big
thoughts.
video trending, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is in a church somewhere in Ghana.
A school.
Okay.
We understand that it's St. Monica's College of Education. That's the information that's out there now, and that it's at Mampong. So we are seeing presumably a Reverend Father. I think
Oh, come on.
The doctor is rolling it again. So you see there's a podium, and then you see the Reverend Father and students. And then he's...
Oh, really? No.
Yes. So there were 3 ladies in the much more extended video that I saw. 3, obviously, students of the college. And the
Wow.
Reverend Father proceeds to give them a holy kiss. Am I the only person
This
who's
can never be a
just
holy
trying
kiss.
to
But,
restrain?
This is not a holy
The
kiss,
congregation, from what we can see, they jubilate when he does that.
I just can't understand it.
They're jubilating.
Is that a jubilation?
Yeah,
Yes.
uproar. I mean, hear the sound.
So an uproar is not jubilation.
Oh, it
No,
sounds
you can
happy.
see from the video that
they sound
those
happy.
they actually, some of them are laughing and they are clapping.
Does it predispose? Like, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I'm super upset. It means that it's not the first time he's done it.
Like, you do
they
know
seem
that
like
yes, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, yeah, they are not complaining.
Is it the kind of atmosphere you hear when you are at a wedding and the groom is kissing the
yeah.
bride?
That is never. It can. If any of my god kids had to go through this, and Val would relate because she.
But
I
this
would
is you.
totally lose it if
This is you
any
because
child
you're
or
saying
sister of
this.
mine had to endure this at the hands of a... If this is found to be true, okay, because I have not independently verified the source of that video. So
Right.
if this is found to be true, and indeed that Reverend Minister has been doing this,
Well, he needs to be sanctioned. You can't do this. We're in a pandemic. Even if we were not in a pandemic, you cannot kiss a member of the congregation or your
And then you
students
can
like
see
this.
from the video that even though some of them were not, there was one person who was actually, you can tell
The third
person
lady,
she didn't want
was
it. Yeah, she was
very-
trying to, yes.
we're in a pandemic. They're
religion-
holy, you know, when it comes to religion and holy cases and greet one another with the holy case, and you know that there are some churches that pre-COVID would, you know, do kisses.
Holy kisses.
Holy kisses, they call it.
Really?
But we are in a pandemic. I don't want to
the
mention...
church where the priest went
I
around.
don't want to
Religion
mention
is
names.
the opium of the
No,
masses.
this is not a
It's-
holy. At least
so
even some
you're
couples are
sitting
not
here-
kissing like this, man. This
We are
is serious.
We are sitting here complaining,
If
and
it's even acceptable, assuming that in some, you know, twisted, in my opinion, twisted kind of way, this is even mildly acceptable. We're in a pandemic. You're a Reverend Father. We know that this collective fight involves all of us. All of us should collectively come together and stop this. And you're kissing somebody in the face.
and in a mask.
You get them to remove the mask and kiss them on the lips.
Yeah.
Okay, cool it. Cool it.
I just had the most horrible sleep because
fine.
if that was my sister, if that was my daughter, if I knew any of those ladies up there on that podium, I won't be at the morning show this morning. Trust me, I'll be
You'll be
packed.
on your way to Mampong.
I will be there already on my way. I'll be there, packed there, and
Yeah,
I will create the biggest fuss
It's out
until
of
they
order.
give me my relative for me to take away, because that kind of man cannot be anywhere near
And this
any
is
child
just
of
this
mine.
is just one that's gone viral.
Yeah.
If it's been going there for years, I mean, then this has been happening for years.
I'm sure
Probably this is what's getting the reaction from them. I mean,
Okay.
they're laughing. It's something that happens.
It will definitely happen.
I am personally calling for his head to roll.
With the mask investigation, and I'm sure something will happen. Definitely.
Are you sure? From all indications, it
something
might
will
happen again.
His authorities will deal with him. Okay, all right.
Well, so this is some serious stuff. So let's just soften it up a bit. Guilty Beat is officially part of the Sony Music family.
Yes. I'm going to read that.
Who's
So, Guilty Beat, he's a music producer.
Okay.
He's not the first person. He's actually the second or the third. I haven't verified that yet, but it's a big win for Ghana.
What's he guilty of?
Producing amazing beats.
Okay.
And guess what? Sony Music signing him doesn't just mean I mean, a win for Ghana, but it means that now internationally, internationally good record labels and other brands out there are recognizing the talent we have in Ghana. It's not even about him, it's about the fact that our music industry is moving to there. That's him. Yes, he put that on Twitter.
Who has he produced? I'm just curious. Yes,
I'm sure that we'll have a lot more details.
All right.
Yes, but
that package.
Not that he produces the person.
Yeah, beats. He produced beats.
Lots of.
Who has he done beats for?
Our producer is going to put up one shortly. He's going to play one of the videos in there.
Yeah. No, I'm asking the question in the air. I'm curious. Guilty Beats. I like the name.
And then still in the music arena, yesterday there was a little fuss.
Okay.
On social media again about Shabbat went mad. He went agog when on a radio interview someone said that musically Yautog was better than Sarkodie, and Shatawale was like, if there really was a music industry, whoever said that on that radio station would not even have said that. There's no way you can compare the two.
So there's no music industry.
It's no big deal. For me, it's no big deal. If the man feels that this person is more musically sound than the other, so it's just an opinion. I mean, let's live and let live. How big is that guy who is saying that stuff anyway, really? You know.
But you should also know that people hide behind the anonymity of a keyboard to just say whatever.
No, he was actually on
a
radio show.
One city data. That's
what, 2 city data, and that's the person who say the most helpful stuff.
And some small education, you know. Yeah, well, listen.
And COVID as well. We forgot to mention our updates. COVID updates is still, COVID is still here, and the Ministry of Health, well, everybody, we are urging everybody to still adhere to all
we'll see our latest figures pretty shortly on the screen,
adhere to all the safety protocols and try as much as possible to be each other's keeper.
Okay.
So
it's not looking good, especially when you are kissing people on the lips. There's COVID, like, don't do that. I just had to chip that in there because there's a pandemic.
Yes.
And so we will just look at the stories that are breaking across our borders. We might think that it's so far away somewhere in you know, you don't even know, you might not appreciate where that kind of the magnitude of the crisis is in relation to where we are in Ghana. But Afghanistan and the scenes that we've seen from Kabul and the kind of desperation that people have begun to, I mean, people trying to leave the country. This on your screen now is about 640 people on a U.S. military cargo plane.
People
desperate to escape.
Were hanging on planes.
And when the plane moved,
dropping.
And when the plane moved, because it just could not take any more people. It just could not take any more people.
Whoa.
They ran after that.
This is like running after truck or what? I mean, come on, man. This is a plane.
But that tells you the seriousness of the situation and how desperate they are to escape what could be a very, very chaotic situation with the Taliban
some guy trying to open
in charge.
What? And the president has run away. The president fled. The president of the country fled
so don't jump ship. When the ship is sinking, as captain, you stay on the ship until the last one gets off.
The president didn't hear that.
No, he definitely doesn't.
Don't jump ship.
But flights have been banned now. All flights have been banned. So I don't know how the international community
this morning on the BBC, they were having a conversation about diplomatic missions sending flights to evacuate their members and their nationals. And so we will continue to monitor what's happening in Afghanistan. Later on in the show, we'll have the opportunity to engage someone who understands international relations better, and then we'll try and see what it means for the rest of the world and for us in Africa with regards to how we deal with, you know, tensions in the country and specifically terrorism threats. So, Kaf, I believe you have breaking news.
And President Buhari of Nigeria wrote an opinion piece in a British newspaper, basically talking about how it's U.S. military aid will not deal with the issues of terrorism. We need highways, we need railways, we need jobs to deal with terrorism.
Indeed, the U.S. President Joe Biden has also issued a strongly worded statement on this matter, and obviously it's come up for a lot of criticism for the U.S. decision to even withdraw the troops in the first place. I mean, it's a whole, you know, conversation on diplomacy and how far countries can help in crisis situations.
Indeed. I think we have some breaking news right now. One of our people on the ground is going to tell us about an accident that just took place around. This looks like a trotro jamming into one of the
bridge?
pillars around
yes, overhead.
It's overhead around Tetekwashi interchange.
Is that the airport area?
Yes.
The airport stretch.
The mall, Accra Mall area, the runabout.
Yes, indeed. And so the tow truck has come to basically take away what looks like a really damaged.
Well, how did he end up on the side of the road?
Well,
when you see most accidents, that's the first thing you ask. Where was he going? What happened?
And how did he lose control? I mean, it feeds into the conversation we'll be having on the program about road safety and the fact that we're seeing more and more of these scenes on our streets, and we really need to ask if we should be taking better care of our cars, of ourselves.
So this is breaking, so we'll get more details later on. Just hope that nobody was injured. You're watching #GTV Breakfast, brought to you in association with Awake Purified Drinking Water, Shield Acrylic Paint, and Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. Lots of conversations to come up to do with road safety, to do with international affairs. Afghanistan is in the news. To do with communication in marriage and relationships. It's a big show, and we've got a lot for you, so don't go anywhere. Across social media, we are there. And please follow us. Yes, we beg you. Please follow us. We'll follow you back, all right? On Facebook,
and follow our personal handles as well, because like we said, the Yellow Couch Moments is becoming very, very popular after the program. So we have a much more extended conversation of what happens on this side, and also we check it out to social media. So follow, and remember to share all our content. Our social media handles will be on your screens. Follow GBC News, follow Val, certainly follow my official page. Follow. And then we'll all have a good time. Remember the hashtag is GTV Breakfast. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us. Don't go away.
Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the Breakfast Show. Live from GBC 2006.
Oh, the Erati. Memo, yes, Memo, Messiah. You could be all the Erati. I don't look like what I have been through. You turned my pit into a well. So the essence of my praise is centered on your grace. I don't. I've been through a lot, but grace sustained me. My test is now testimony. So the essence of my praise is centered on your grace. I don't. It was you, my lawyer in the courtroom. It was you, my soldier on that battlefield. So the essence of my praise is centered on your grace. I don't. Oh, I do more than me. I don't want to know me just see. I don't know me walk. So the essence of my praise is centered on your grace. I don't. Hey, I do more than me. I don't want to know just see.
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Hi, welcome to GTV Breakfast, and my name is Kaf. Good to have you here. Yesterday I put a question on Facebook. What's it like to be involved in a road traffic accident? Lots of comments. This is Tibo. He says, I woke up early only to find myself in a hospital bed. Wow. I don't know what happened until date. I still can't remember what really happened, but I was told I was knocked down by a Kia truck. I was knocked down. It was fully loaded with pure water on the La Paz N1 stretch, and that was it. The first hospital I was taken to confirmed me dead. Wow. But thanks to my boss, who didn't believe I was dead, they brought me to the hospital and made everything possible to bring me back. Till now, I don't use the La Paz N1 road. That's Yao Tibo reaching us on Facebook, hashtag GTV Breakfast. What are your stories about road accidents? Let us know. Let's talk about roads. So, good roads, everybody wishes for good roads because you need to travel safely and for your vehicle to remain in tip-top condition. However, due to many circumstances, vehicles can veer off their lanes like we saw in that picture on the trains. But thanks to guardrails, many potentially tragic crashes have been averted. Guardrails lessen the severity of crashes and deflect a vehicle back to the roadway. Unfortunately, in many parts of Ghana, some damaged guardrails are not repaired, and these are posing a great danger to both motorists and pedestrians. In this report, our colleague Soyokwo Kwakuchre brings you the state of affairs as far as guardrails along the Achimota of Fanko stretch of the Accra-Kumasi Highway are concerned. Take a look.
A guardrail is first and foremost a safety barrier intended to shield the motorist who has left the roadway. The best case scenario, if a car is veering off the road, guardrails help that car to come to rest unhindered. The story along the Ofankor barrier stretch of the Kumasi highway is sad. The guardrails, ostensibly hit by drivers who wanted to avoid accidents, are damaged and lying dangerously on the shoulders of the road or even hanging precariously. This certainly is not what is expected on our roads. Well, the story at St. John's is also not different. Behind me, you can see that the street guardrails are all broken down according to the people who sail along the street. Vehicles who try to avoid accidents hit these street guardrails. Driving through the Mile 7 junction, ABC and Neoplan, the story is no different. Some unscrupulous scrap metal dealers have also taken advantage of the situation by stealing the bolts and nuts and even the abandoned damaged guardrails. Even some street lights hit by drivers are also left unattended to and hanging dangerously. This, many complain, is a recipe for disaster. Our lenses also captured this disturbing spectacle at the Achimota overpass. Concrete holding the beams having chipped off with sharp objects, leaving the iron rods exposed. The news gathered that occupants of heavy-duty trucks with loads that exceed the height limit for driving under the bridge are the main culprits. Traders and shop owners here say this is not a new phenomenon. They allege that the drivers who flout the country's regulations are mostly from neighboring Burkina Faso or Niger. We were told the trucks often got stuck under the bridge due to the height of the load, and so they chip off the concrete to enable them offload some of the goods from their trucks, freezing before reloading and continuing on their journey without a care. Many shake their heads with helplessness at this very sad and disturbing situation. This is the Mile 7 roundabout. For years, this portion of the road is never dry. It appears water seeps from an underground source that connects to this gutter. As such, the asphalt is broken and a large pothole created. This situation always creates traffic as the drivers must slow down. Others veer off and use the shoulder of the road, which often causes an accident.
This stagnant water has been here for years. If a driver isn't careful, the tires can be damaged.
This is a source of worry.
I
had to fill this pothole with stones to prevent accident.
Another worrying issue is the sheer disregard for traffic regulations by motor riders, popularly called Okada riders, who use the pavement rather than the streets. Road users say, till the solution is found to the problems on this stretch of road, accidents and accompanying pain and anguish will continue. Suyupo Kwakutre, GBC News, Accra.
Wow, that is a safety story that we need to keep following to make sure that public safety is assured. T, what do you think of that story?
I mean, I travel that route daily, so for me it's always almost become like a normal part of my day, if that makes sense. You know, when something bad happens for so long that it becomes normal. So when you get there and it's not even happening, then you ask, hey, today dear, what's wrong? Like, it's wrong that the right thing is happening.
Exactly.
So when I get to, for example, if I'm going and there's no traffic, I'm like, hey, today what's happening here? Why is there no traffic on this stretch? And the traffic is also compounded by some of these bad, so I've put down on my notes, bad roads, bad vehicles, bad habits.
Okay, bad roads, bad vehicles, bad habits. You believe that across the entire stretch of the Tamamoto Way, there used to be guardrails from Kring Kring to Krang Krang?
Well, I haven't seen it in my life.
Because this is
I've lived
yes,
a fair bit of years.
So my mom tells me that back then, the entire stretch, guardrails, they've all gone. Scrap guys have taken over. They've sold it, and it's posing a danger to the people. Let's talk to our colleague Soyukwo Kwakuchre, who put this report together. Soyukwo, Oje Kolo. So, good morning. Welcome to breakfast with me and T.
Good morning, Kafri. Good morning, Kafri. Good morning, Thelma. I hope you're doing good.
Well, all right, thank you.
We're doing fine. So, what inspired you to do this story, Soyuko?
You know, I travel that route on a daily basis, and at a point, I saw that the guardrails lying straight from Achimota to Franco. And at a point in time, those guardrails got missing. Part of them were getting missing and due to accidents. So let's say from Ofanko to Spot M, I realized that a bit of it is gone due to an accident. Then I moved to St. John's, a bit of it is moved. And I said, what is happening? So are we sitting down for the entire stretch of for us to lose the guardrails on the entire stretch of this road? So I said, okay, let me do a story on it. Maybe the authorities that we don't know. So it's like raising or creating awareness so that the authorities concerned will come and see what to do about the situation. So basically, that's the intention for writing this report.
Do you have anything to ask, Soyuko?
Yes, I would say that the people who have been stealing the guardrails, what's the plan for that? I mean, were you able to speak to any of the members of the district assembly? Did you get any answers as to whether they were going to be fixed anytime soon?
We didn't get anybody to speak to. I understand, I went to the Ghana North Municipal Assembly. I didn't meet anybody. Ghana East, we didn't get anybody. But according to the traders and those who sell along the road, it's a normal thing. And I just told them, this is not normal. It's not normal because once I travel that route every day, you encounter a number of accidents on a daily basis. It's just by the grace of God that we go and come every day. But you see, some don't return, when traveling that stretch of the road. And it's a highway, so you just know the speed and these vehicles come with, they drive at top speed. And so when a situation like this happens, it's the best option to avoid an accident is to hit the car and the guardrails. And when it happens that way, the guardrails gets removed, and instead of it being repaired, these damaged rails are left just by the shoulders of the road or hanging just like that. It's a recipe for disaster anyway. Then these metal scrap dealers also come in. They just take it, And as one trader, she has a shop along the St. John's Mount 7th stretch. So I asked her what they do when they see these metal scrap dealers picking up the damaged rails. And they told us that they can't do anything because if the authorities concerned are not acting, they won't also act for them to be targets. So these metal scrap dealers, some of them are violent, so they don't want any trouble. They just look on, and these scrap dealers pick the damaged rails and sell it at the scrap market.
Right.
I think
so one other thing that you highlighted in your report is the fact that the heavy-duty trucks are also causing damage to portions of, for example, the Achimota overpass. How serious is this situation?
It is very serious. I think you could see the iron rods exposed. When I had a close-up shot on one of the beams, and you could see the iron rods exposed. I used that overhead bridge every day, and it wasn't like that. I remember one evening, no, it's night, because it's about 12 midnight. I closed from work and I was going, and I saw one of these trucks stuck there. And, you know, from the accent of the driver and the mate, you could see these are not Ghanaians, either probably Guineans or Nigerians. And they were trying to chip off the concrete. I was alone with the driver, and at that time, midnight, I tried using my phone to take shots of that particular accident or incident, and they threatened us. So we just had to leave. It was after midnight. Yes, I closed around 11. So it was after midnight when I was going home. And daytime, the following day, I went over, but the truck had been moved. So I spoke to some of the traders, and they just laughed and said, this happens every day. Every day. So from Achimota to Mile 7, the distance between Achimota and Mile 7 police station is not far. Why don't they report? Or even the distance from that Achimota overhead bridge and the Achimota police station is not far. So when they see people, the drivers or the truck drivers saying, well, why don't they report to the police? They just laughed at me and said, the police know. They know. Well, when they said that, I felt very sad. So that even motivated me to do that particular story. I was like, well, if according to them, they allege the police know, then we are sitting on a time bomb, you know, right. Because the fuller story, you realize that I titled it Sitting on a Time Bomb, yeah.
Thank you, Soyuko, for bringing attention to this particular issue. Keep up the good work, and we know that the officials are watching. Everybody watches GTV Breakfast. They will see it, and hopefully it gets to the right quarters, and then the appropriate agencies in charge will all rally together and I don't want to say fix it, but
say it, fix it.
Bring a solution.
And I'm sure when you have your conversation on road carnage, you can talk about some of these things as well.
I will certainly
safety
bring them
issues.
And the fact that apart from national road safety, there's a transport ministry. So the collaboration and then all the stuff that needs to go into the bowl. So all the stuff that needs to go into the collaboration effort, we need to know what each body can contribute to that fight.
Okay, thank you. You're watching GTV Breakfast, brought to you by Awake Purified Drinking Water. Is right here, all right? Shield Acrylic Paint and Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. Still to come, conversations on Afghanistan, road traffic accidents, and smooth communication in your relationship. We've also got headlines and rush hour, and we're also keeping an eye on a couple of locations in the capital. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, so now we're going to rush to our rush hour, and we've got our lady on the ground, Nikita, reporting to us from Christian Village, somewhere between Achimota and Legon. Nikita, hi. Good morning.
Hi, Kafui. Good morning.
We
are currently at Christian Village. This road is a very popular road, which is used to access places like Dome, Jowulu, Abelengpe, and all that. And as you can see, there's not a lot of traffic over here. The road is very narrow, owing to the traffic that is building up. Pedestrians and commuters are using this road alike. The road here leads also to the Dome market. It's not as busy as it would be earlier on in the day, around 8 thereabouts. Yes, as you can see, heading towards Dome, there's a lot of there's traffic building up. So
okay. Yeah, it looks like.
I'd like to interview someone.
Okay, so we're going to get Nikita speak to somebody right now. She's at Christian Village, and she's doing our rush hour report for us this morning. You can see there's a lot of build-up, and people are rushing about doing their activities, going to work, going to school, going to the market, and she's going to bring you some sounds from somebody that she's getting to speak to in a couple of minutes. Hashtag GTV Breakfast, and we rush hour every day like this. We look at different parts of the capital and bring you reports as far as traffic is concerned. Nikita, are you ready for your interview with the person?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
So, to me, I'm catching traffic near Waha.
I mean, traffic now it started free Tuesday, Saturday. Traffic in every day, traffic water if I'm sure and can police for an combat directed traffic in a mine and can never go. As I age more, as a human traffic in Inti, a human can't develop because of traffic in Intino. Work him on Gina, because traffic in a doors. The air force or dominant, yes, Remo and the Mabuay or Damasi.
Okay, thank you very much. You heard it here at Christian Village. Thank you very much. Back to studio.
Okay. My tree is not as great as Nikita's, but from what I gather, he said, listen, man, the traffic starts from Tuesday and it goes, and it even prevents people coming to patronize whatever he sells. Yes, yes. And he would love to have some police presence.
If you sat in Domi traffic, yeah. So from Achimota overhead, when just you know Achimota Mall area, when you take that 10-year Unity House and you start heading into Domi, in that place heading towards the Atomic Roundabout towards Kwabenya, it can get very, very, very tight on that stretch.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Because me, I use my Google map and I avoid traffic like the plague.
Oh, well, Jay is not avoiding traffic at the Gimpa area this morning. Jay Gabra, you're keeping the eye on the rush hour situation around the Gimpa area. What can you tell us at this time? He's trying to put himself together. Maybe we should find an alternative route to Gimpa if Jay is not, is not coming through for us. But I mean, when you speak to people who live on the other side of town, then you get a feel of what the traffic situation is. Val would always say that the traffic on the motorway this morning, it was so bad when I was driving into work. And you hear similar stories from another. Don't even get me started on the Amasaman side of town, because that can also become very, very horrific, even with the sighting of the Pokose interchange, which expectedly eased traffic at that spot, in my opinion. I think it eased it at Pokose Junction, at the ACP Junction, where, so former ACP Junction, now it's Pokose interchange. So the road leading to that point is much freer now than it was in the past, but just after the pedestrian crossing at Pokose Junction, the build-up starts again, because that's where the good roads end. So the project site from the build-up to Pokose
is good.
It's good, and then the approach to that point and then beyond is where we find the bad roads. And so it's like we've just shifted the problem to another part of the stretch, and it gets very problematic. The other day we were stuck there for about 2 hours.
Are there alternatives?
Thank you for being so patient.
Are there alternative routes out of that mess?
So you'll have to go through, if you wanted to remain on the Achimota Kumasi Highway, you would have to get off at the point where you can turn off towards Ofankor Hills. I doubt you know what I'm talking about.
I know that place
so
very well.
you go towards Ofankor Hills, then you hit Kwabenya, and then you come back into the interchange road, and then go off through the back way, through the back of Pokose, and then maybe emerge somewhere around Amasaman, and then continue on that side near the police station. So the traffic situation, sometimes it gets very, very bad. I understand that Jay is ready to tell us what's happening in the Gimpa area this morning. Jay, thanks for joining us. And what can you say?
Thank you very much, Thelma. Good morning to everyone. It's a mellow Tuesday. The weather is very cool, very calm, and everybody is finding their way to their place of business or whatever destination they have to get to. So this morning, I'm at the Legon Bypass here at the Gempa area, and to Behind me are those who are coming from Hacho Atomic, and you are using the bypass to get to Jolu. On my right are those coming from Achimota, and then to my left you can see that's the Lagos campus over there, and then if you don't have a sticker or whatnot, you can't go through those gates. So for now, that area is quite free. And then right in front of me are those using the bypass heading towards Jolu, Fiesta Royale, and all that. They can branch from there, they can get to Shiashi and any other numerous areas as well. So this bypass is quite famous for road users because it helps them to get access to a lot of places. And we understand in the evenings there have been a spate of robberies, and we are drawing the authorities' attention to it. If they can, and I understand they've arrested a couple of people, and if they can keep up the good work, that will help road users as well. And this crossroads I am right now, you notice that for people who are not familiar with the road, if the traffic lights are not working, so if you are not careful, some incidents may occur. So I'd like to draw your attention to, you see there's a stop sign behind me, but that stop sign, you can tell somebody has hit it and it has just curved to the side. There's a signboard that's also on the ground, meaning somebody also crashed into that. And then I'll just bring your attention to the traffic lights, which are not working. And you even notice that with the traffic lights, a vehicle has run into it, and so for the street light on the other side of the road. So these are some of the little petty things which will help improve the traffic situation here. So for now, things are moving smoothly. The only place I'll say there's traffic building up are those coming from the Atomic side, and then for those heading back, those heading to Jowolo.
Jay, I don't see any police officers there. Can you confirm whether there are police officers around?
Oh, yeah. Okay, they have a stand, but at the moment, there's no one. At the moment, there's no one here. I think they have a period for which they appear in order to control things. But for now, I think they are holding off a bit.
Oh, how?
Yes.
But the traffic light is all working. They should be there. People are just obeying the rules and not causing any mess.
Maybe there are peak periods when I don't know their schedule and all that. But for now, I would say. Yes, I believe they will be here because their stand is here. So if they are watching us at the moment, I'm sure they are on their way. And for people who haven't left home yet and you have to get to work and all that, I know how frustrating traffic can be. But for now, if you leave, I believe you'll find your way to your destination quite quickly. It will take you just a little bit of time, but you'll be fine.
Okay. That place looks like a crime scene. I mean, traffic lights are working.
A crime scene in terms of road traffic.
Everything is wrong.
Offenses.
Street
the lights are not
here.
working.
There's something here. The street, something on the ground.
So monitoring. Who's supposed to monitor and report back to base and say a light is down, a road sign is down, or has been hit and so is off the road? Who's monitoring?
Good question. And T will be back with a conversation on the condition of our roads. Let me give you some deadly statistics. So these are the deadliest roads in Ghana, with at least 780 accidents recorded over the past 9 years. So when I mention a stretch of road, please know that at least 780 accidents have happened over the last 9 years. These are statistics from MTTD. All right. Accra Cape Coast Takrady, deadly. Accra Aflao, deadly. Tamahohwe, deadly. Kumasi Techiman, deadly. Kintampo, Tamale, deadly. Takrady, Lubo, deadly. Tamale Bolga, deadly. And I asked the question, are you shocked? And then people were now asking, how come this Accra Kumasi is not in it? But the caveat is that it's 780 accidents recorded over the last 9 years. Okay,
so it means there are less accidents on the Accra Kumasi road.
If it was 779.
And these are the ones that we even hear more about.
Exactly.
So the ones that we don't hear,
we don't know,
might be even more.
Yes.
Sad.
So there's more conversations on that coming up. We've got headlines just around the corner, and stay with us. Our Mankesi JJ is in the house. All right. Find out who he is after this.
Studio One. This is the Breakfast Show. Live from GTV.
side. Yeah, let bygone be bygone. I did see whatever I'm gonna do, we dey go straight to start. I'm gonna take you to next level. My baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. G next level. Back baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Take you to next level. My baby, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't code next level.
Excessive drinking can be detrimental, not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
The much-awaited 2021 Human Resource Leaders Strategic Conference and HR Role Model Awards is here. A 2-day groundbreaking conference starting August 25 to 26, 2021 at the Accra City Hotel will redefine human resource function with cutting-edge presentations by the industry's best. Top-notch conference speakers drawn from Ghana's public sector organizations, blue-chip companies spanning telecommunications, banking and finance, the mines and energy sectors will navigate the fine path of improving workplace productivity with effective HR strategies under the central theme, human resource in the new normal, leading the shift from surviving to thriving. Interested companies and individuals may register their seats. You may call 055-835-7200 or 050-579-5339 for further information. Highlights of the conference is the Classic Gala and HR Model Excellence Awards Night at Accra City Hotel on Friday 27, 2021 at 7 p.m. prompt. It's strictly by invitation, so get your corporate tables or tickets now. Alika, redefining HR in the new normal. Official media partners are GBC.
No play a smart game on guys of today. Trust me, girl, they'll never respect you.
I say, boys, they fear marriage. Wow.
My brother, your woman is making use of your brain.
Me, mama, think I some me.
Our real pass is here, buddy. Me okay.
I don't give my number to strangers. I'm sorry.
I'm not a stranger.
From now onwards, if you want to date at least 10.
Smart game.
Anywhere around me with girl, if I see your shadow, you can feel that. The woman see the grace or something. Why you can buy what 20 see them?
You want to surprise me with a car, and then you ask me for 7,000 Ghana cedis.
Bible say, "Okwasia." Anything I ask.
I don't know that this. Are you guys as well the guys who work at the airport?
Smart Game, a series directed and produced by N.J. Michael, showing soon on GTV. Live from GBC Studio 1, this is The Breakfast Show.
You're welcome to the show. If you just joined us, where have you been? Where have you been? You didn't put your alarm on. You missed a whole hour, but there's more. And you can find us on Facebook after the show is gone. The stream is there. Just go to Facebook, follow Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and you can get all the streams and watch and you can share with your friends. And yes, that's how we do it here. Just to let you know that we have a conversation on communication in marriage and relationships. And I asked the question, what's your best advice for improving communication in your relationship? You guys were quite enthusiastic. So Doris Nalum Ajete Lomo says, when your partner complains or accuses you, just say sorry. Don't argue. Yeah, I remember my father telling me that he said, don't be a hero, my son. No man ever won an argument with his wife.
Definitely.
Don't be a hero. You can't be the first person. So I think I agree with that. Val will give you more on that conversation around 9 o'clock, all right, with Madam Hammond, a wonderful counselor. But for now, I'm here with my guests, who, by the way, both come from the Central Region. Good morning. How do I say good morning in Fanti? Mamuachi. Good. So we've got on my far left the former Central Regional Minister Aquinas Tewia Kwanzaa, and seated next to him in the white is former Deputy Minister for Communications Alexander Aban. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning. Representing Mankesim and Apam. Mankesim, I know, is the headquarters of Kaku, the whole world.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
You know, Mankesim is always been a market hub, and in the Central Region, that is how it got its name, Oman Kesim. I mean, like the market area, that's everybody brings his or her produce to that center.
All right.
So when Kaku started coming, it was the traders from Mankesim who started traveling to, sometimes all the way to Mauritius, just to go and buy the Kaku and bring them down, Gambia, Senegal.
Wow, international trade.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big international trade, I'm telling you.
For our international viewers watching us on DSTV and GoTV, explain Kaku. What is Kaku?
Nigerians call it stockfish.
Stockfish. Okay.
Yeah, but it's it's mainly from like it started from like sharks.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like salted
wings.
shark wings. That is how it started.
Shark wings.
Shark wings.
I see.
You understand me? That is where Kaku started.
Is it still shark wings or
yeah, now they have other fishes that comes to play, but the Kaku started from like salted
shark fins.
Shark fins, dried.
All right. I'm interested.
That's why anytime you eat, you see the strands. I mean, you can just remove the strands one by one.
When was the last time you had Kaku?
For me, I always have Kaku at home. So.
I need to get some for myself. Mr. Aban, what is Apam known for? The capital of your constituency?
Fishing.
Oh, you're a fisherman.
Yes.
Okay.
Apam, Mumford, and I think I would say in the coast of Ghana, the best fishing hub is Apam, Mumford. Those two towns.
For real?
Yes, that is the case. In fact, if you go to Almina, and you go to Sekondi, and you go to Tema, almost every 10 fishermen that you find at the coasts, you are likely to find about 4 of them coming from either Apam or Mumford.
Awesome. Do you agree? I want to know. Do you agree? Do you believe that?
Just do a research and you'll find it.
I don't agree.
You agree, eh? Mankesim versus Apam.
Oh no, it's not the matter of Mankesim versus Apam. But Apam. No, I know.
They don't go fishing, eh?
You see, I've been at fisheries ministry before.
Indeed.
I was a deputy there.
Yes.
So when you take the coastline of Central Region, looking at the quantum of fish that comes from Apam Mumford, it's not like...
Or maybe they are skilled.
I'm talking about the people. That's why I told you that go to Elmina, go to
you see some Apam people there.
Go to Tema. You see them.
No,
they are always there.
It's not only them. Go to my constituency, you see people from Alakle fishing in my village.
Hold on, you.
What I want to say is, it's like you're talking about the biggest fishing hubs.
Okay.
Apam is not the biggest fishing hub along even the Central Coast.
We shall decide this. We shall decide this over a meal with some Kaku in it.
Even look, apart from, you see, Apam and Elmina, that's almost the same style of fishing.
Okay.
I hope you understand me.
Okay.
But if we are talking about the proper artisanal fishermen,
Apam no dey inside.
Oh, Apam do the
from 1993 when they started the best fishermen. We have taken it about 8 times.
All right, we shall settle this after. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Apam, #1 fishing community in Ghana or not? What do you think? #GTV breakfast. If you're from Apam, let us know. All right. If you agree with Mr. Kwanzaa too.
I'm putting Apam and Mumford together.
Okay, Apam, Mumford. All right. Okay, what we're going to put together right now is our thoughts around the COVID-19 jabs, because front page of the Ghanaian Times, there's a mad rush for COVID-19 jabs as vaccination takes off in 11 hotspot districts. The hotspot districts are in Greater Accra. They are also in the Greater Kumasi area. And so that's a big story on the front page of today's Ghanaian Times. I'll just give you an idea of what's going on. So we are rolling out, and it was quite big yesterday. As at 6 a.m., people had already joined long queues, even before the personnel of Ghana Health Service came by to vaccinate them. So there's a lot of action going on. This is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The jabs are in 177,000 plus jabs. Yes, we need to do this, and we need to do more. Don't you think so, Mr. Aban?
Thank you, and good morning.
Yes.
I mean, the world over, we see that the COVID-19 pandemic is wreaking havoc. You realize also that the best way now to combat it is to get vaccinated. Thankfully, it appears to me that all the negative comments about vaccination generally seem to be muted this time round. Well, most often when new vaccines come, you get other people who would run counter adverts against it, and people will say, oh, if I go for it, something will happen to me, blah, blah, blah. So people do not want to go for vaccination.
What do you think is working?
Probably because other countries have done it. I think that in places like UK, they have almost 100% vaccination. In the US, the same. So it now at least settles our mind that after all, other people have taken it and there have not been any serious side effects, so why not? So I think that has increased the enthusiasm of people to get the jab. So we are happy that at least people are going for it, because once we get to what we call herd immunity, then at least I can walk freely without a nose mask. At least I have watched the English Premier League now, and you realize it's like massive crowd.
There's no COVID there.
Exactly.
In the UK. It looks like it.
It is because by the statistics they have reached herd immunity, so at least they can allow everybody to live as usual. As we talk about it, I think that there is a caution that I must throw out there. It has already been said, but there's no harm in saying it again, emphasizing it. Those who had the benefit previously of going for the COVAX, just one jab, they should not go for
the Johnson & Johnson.
The Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, indeed.
Because we have been told by the experts that it can have negative consequences.
Indeed.
So they should not. They should just wait. I believe that government will make sure that those who went in for the AstraZeneca and have only one dose should wait. I'm sure the other batch would come for them to have it.
Okay.
Otherwise, then probably they may have to wait until after 6 months, because one of the theories, or one of the things I've also learned is that maybe after 6 months, then its effect. But if they give you the second jab within 6 months, then you are fine.
Okay.
So please.
If you've taken your first shot of AstraZeneca, wait for the second one. Don't jump into the Johnson & Johnson.
Don't jump into the Johnson & Johnson one.
Mr. Kos, I want you to jump into this conversation. What can be done to improve the coverage of vaccination in this country?
Yeah, good morning once again. I mean,
yes.
we started with
a nice kako fishing something.
Yeah. I believe it's like the scarcity of the vaccine is what is worrying. If we have enough of the vaccines around, You can easily walk like the way if you want to take your yellow fever jab, you can walk to any polyclinic or whatever and take your jab. I believe it would have helped. Because when I was going to take my second jab, I got there around 6:30 in the morning and I left there around 10 because there were a lot of people. But if we had if we have most of the clinics and the polyclinics, the hospitals, administering this vaccine, at least it will bring the tension down. But just, we have only 177,000.
Yes, Johnson & Johnson.
And meanwhile, we've already vaccinated about 600,000 people. And we are planning, we've planned vaccinating almost about
20 million.
20 million people.
We are far away from the
We
target.
are far away. Yeah. You know, that's why people took that thing very serious. I mean, about we waiting for the AstraZeneca. The AstraZeneca and the Sputnik thing came in, and because people were seriously anticipating. I mean, something that can get the whole minister confused tells you that it's something that people are really ready to take the jab. Like my brother said, initially when it started, we had all those conspiracy theories, and you know, most of the places that those theories came from were even the first people to want to go and take the jab. So who are you? I mean, in the US, you see people, I mean, posting videos about, I mean, with some, what do you call it? They will be hanging things, telling you there's a magnetic. I mean, look, they have taken my 2 jabs. I am okay, but that doesn't mean I should be going around not wearing mask in like crowded areas. I am cool. The next person I don't know
may not be cool.
Yeah, so it's best to keep on masking up, you know, till we get to the herd immunity that we all looking at. But we can't get there now. I mean, looking at the number, we've vaccinated less than 800,000 people. We are looking at 20 million. We've not even done. I mean,
the percentage is small.
Yeah, percentage is too
small.
Yeah,
5%, less than 5%.
Yeah. So I think we need to, I mean, speed up as a government, as a nation, to make sure we have enough of the vaccines. I think at least every polyclinic, people should be able to walk to the polyclinic and get vaccinated. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think? Have you been vaccinated? Whether it's AstraZeneca or Johnson & Johnson. Remember that AstraZeneca is 2 shots. So you've taken 1, wait for the second AstraZeneca one. And then how about the Johnson & Johnson? Are you in the Greater Accra or the Greater Kumasi areas? Let us know whether you've done it. #GTV breakfast. Let's leave.
Are we still going to have the Sputnik in the country?
I do not know.
I'm not in a, I've opted for Johnson & Johnson.
I'm not in a position to answer that question.
Yes.
But the point is that we are still looking for vaccines.
We need vaccines for the people.
We need it.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, sometimes it's unfair. You realize that in the developed world, they have vaccinated so many people.
Money talks, Mr. Abba.
Yes, that's the point.
Yes.
In Africa, I mean, in terms of percentages, very small. Right?
Yeah.
We still need vaccination. And nothing has been said that the Sputnik 1 is not effective.
Yes. But it's just that it brought a lot of wahala.
Exactly. Yes. So I don't think that we still cannot go for it. The only thing is that maybe we should, in terms of the procurement, we should be guided very well, having regard to all the things that have
happened before.
Yes.
Our minister is on leave, right? He's resting somewhere?
Yes. He's a person I know. I worked under him.
You worked under him.
And
how does he feel about all this? I mean, did you have you spoken to him?
I tried him a couple of times. I could not get him. But I don't think... No.
He didn't take
just busy.
Okay.
But the thing is that it is not... this is not to hold brief for him. But the man that I worked with is quite ridiculous. And so... we should not flog him too much. This business of saying that, oh, I was not thinking properly and everybody is taking
but he said it.
Oh, he said it. No, within the circumstances, within the context. But the way
under what circumstances are you permitted not to think properly as a minister? You were a deputy minister. Were there times when you didn't think clearly?
Oh, you must I mean, let's just presume that you must think clearly every time.
Yes.
But the point is that when you are overwhelmed by circumstances and maybe you take a misstep once, we should be ready to at least forgive you.
Do you think there are certain confessions that you must only make to your wife?
Confessions like what?
That you're not thinking clearly. I mean, your wife deserves to hear that, but not Ghana.
Certain statements are politically incorrect. Let me just put it that way.
Mr. Kwanzaa.
Even though he was, being frank with us.
Yeah, too much frankness, too much information.
He's my friend too. We were on the public account committee together. Yes. That was when Honorable Kadapa was our chairman, and like he said, I know him to be like, pretty and proper person. But you see, sometimes, you have to agree that, hey, I goofed. You understand me? Then you move on with life. But you see, if you decide to defend your goof, that is what opens you up for maybe those.
Did he this?
But I think he admitted.
No. What I'm saying is, it's not a matter of like defending that I didn't say. He said it. He was confused. Why were you confused?
He wasn't thinking straight.
The pressure was not. No, look. I was deputy minister when COVID started.
What was it like?
Yeah, it was not easy. You move from one end to the next.
No, but
how so long?
But you see, my problem is if the thing. I mean, you were working with agency, like I need to. I mean, this thing needs to come in. You get confused, but you see, if they need some loans, that are not that even like emergency. They rush to Parliament with a certificate of what do you call it? Agency, just to go and get it done. My problem is he should have done that simply because even Sunday, people knowing how important this particular transaction is, MPs would have come to Parliament on Sunday to give you the approval for you to go and get it. I hope you understand me because we've done similar things before. You could have still gone for that option, but even you rushing it at the time of even going to the press or at the time of facing the committee, the verses were still not in. So what was the agency for? You should have taken your time, go through the processes, and I mean, look, sometimes
is the matter ended?
I don't know. I don't think it's. I mean, they say they've paid the money back.
Should it end it?
Me. I don't think it should end there. I mean, because
where should it continue?
No, right now people are looking at the other side, the perjury side of the whole committee. Did he perjured, or it was also a slip?
Well, the
because at the end of the day, I mean, about the payment, we've not made any payment. Later on, I now remember we made payment and that. I mean, look, and the letters that came from Ministry of Finance showed. I mean, it was evidently clear that it was my good friend who even signed the letter that went to Ministry of and you see, my problem is this thing is something that got you confused. Something that got you confused. You shouldn't have forgotten whether you made payment or not because it's so important that it got a whole man like you confused. So you making payment should be vividly recollect. I mean, I should recollect all the transactions that went on. I mean, on that particular subject.
We'll see how it goes.
But knowing him, I mean, he's a strong-willed guy. He's. But
the president says Wabre. What do you think? Let us know. #GTV Breakfast. Moving away from COVID-19 jobs, let's go to Upper West region because there were some floods last Friday, and the pictures are just heart-wrenching. So, front page Ghanaian Times, Upper West region floods, destruction is a national disaster, according to the roads minister, who went there and surveyed the scene from the height of a chopper. Minister for Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwesi Amwaku Atta, has described the flood disaster that occurred in the Upper West region last week as a national disaster which must be fixed in record time. He told the region to acquaint himself with the extent of damage from last week's torrential rains. He says he was overwhelmed by the level of destruction of the road network in the region as well as farmlands, but was quick to add that he would work with all urgency together with his team to get the roads restored. So he had a media briefing at Y yesterday, touring with engineers and staff of NADMO, as well as staff of the Regional Coordinating Council and other stakeholders. So it was a 24-hour downpour from Thursday into last Friday, displaced people in Nadoli Kaleo district after washing down the structures, flooded the area, washed away sections of the international road passing through several districts in the region, affecting both local and foreign travelers. There are trucks that cannot move because the next step is like a ravine. You know, you cannot move. There's no way you can move. So a total of 45 kilometers of road networks washed away. And I know roads are super expensive. We're talking of millions of cedis here that have been washed away. They could never estimate the destruction that they counted in the tour. We've realized the magnitude of the problem. It's alarming. It's state of national disaster, Upper West floods. Your thoughts, Mr. Aban, on this, I mean, destruction of infrastructure, serious infrastructure?
Thank you very much. Let me first sympathize with our brothers and sisters in the affected areas, because I've not seen the pictures, but I've heard the news. And if the description that I've heard is anything to go by, then the magnitude of the disaster is very big. As we sympathize with them, we must also start questioning the quality of work that we may have done on the road. Of course, sometimes the downpour may be so torrential that it could lead to some destructions. But if you're talking about 45 kilometers,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. The question is, have we, over the years, even checked the quality of the road that was done? Because in many places, when we have heavy rains, we are seriously exposed. In fact, the shoddy works that are done on the roads are exposed big time.
Yeah.
Is it one such example?
You make a good point, because I was listening to a radio report yesterday which was claiming that the roads were not even tarred. Most of the roads in that area are not even tarred, and they're not well constructed, and so small rain.
So that's what I'm asking. Because when we just have some very light bituminous surface, just to create impressions that, okay, we have tarred roads, and they're not very strong. They're not very of good quality.
Yeah.
That's how we get exposed. So it has to, I mean, it gives us cause to think about that area too. But I think that because that road is not only for our domestic travels and the carrying of the carriage of goods and foodstuff from the north to the south and other goods from the south to the north, as quickly as possible we must take the bull by the horn, make sure that this is fixed. Otherwise, business relations between the port and even Burkina Faso will suffer.
Thank you. Mr. Kwanzaa, have you had, in your time as a regional minister, was there an occasion where there was some kind of disaster, and I don't know how regional ministers operate in situations like this? What do you think the regional minister would be doing now as far as this particular disaster is concerned?
I think he needs just to coordinate the government agencies. I mean, because he cannot go ahead and give contracts to anybody to come and do roads or whatever. But he would definitely depend on Amwapata, the NADMO. I mean, he will be liaising more with his NADMO, regional NADMO coordinator, to see the kind of reliefs that will the people would need. But you know, the 45 kilometers, you know, what we should let viewers know, the 45 kilometers is not one straight 45 kilometers. Like in total, the roads that were destroyed in the region is about 45 kilometers. How many of them are urban roads? How many of them are highways? How many of them are feeder roads? So if, yes, you see, so when we know how many...
The road has been chopped.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's just watched, and you see, you know, this looks more like an urban road. You know, we have, because the feeder roads, highly you will see a feeder road being bad.
Yes, no.
That is where maybe you see that thin kind of bitumen surfacing in some of the feeder roads. The urban roads,
international network,
yeah,
those will be tired.
Yes,
I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah, so I believe the government should move in quickly. I mean, seriously speaking, sometimes we end up talking more than we do what we need, what needed to be done. We should move in there, not only talk, but get down there. I remember way back in last year, we were to construct the biggest ever dam. You know, this is not even the effect of the Babi Dam. You know, if that effect too comes in, then now you have two regions to take care of that. Is Upper East and Upper West. But this is devastating. I believe it's about time we move in quickly. Not only, I mean, the road. I mean, I was listening to the news on my way here, and about 300 houses were washed off. About 1,760 families were affected. So now they are appealing to churches, at least, to give their premises to families to lodge there. And I also appeal, I'll add to the NADMO coordinators appeal that they should, the churches should give them a place to, at least till they relocate them or find like a proper place for them to stay. They should, we should all go in there and support them.
What are your thoughts? Do you live in that area, that part of Ghana, the Upper West region? How are you feeling? I saw some comments from some school children who were begging for some kind of help, because if you're cut off, you can't move anywhere. I'd love to find out what your thoughts are. And it's national disaster. It's critical. I mean, trucks that cannot move, roads that have been just chopped into two. And our sympathies go out to the people of Donnelly, Kaleo in the Upper West region, and we pray that support comes to you very swiftly so that your lives can be restored to normalcy as soon as possible. You're watching GTV Breakfast, still to come conversations on road traffic accidents, and then sweet communication in marriage. So the Presbyterian Church is jumping into the free SHS conversation. And the Presbyterian Church is asking for government to explore sustainable funding for free SHS. So this debate continues. The moderator of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, Right Reverend Professor Joseph Ubri-Yeboah Mante, says government should not be the sole financier, but should be open to allow others to contribute financially to make the policy viable, sustainable, and have the desired impact. So, of course, we know that there are challenges with funding. Not if it's free, somebody else is paying for it. So, yes, it's free to you, but somebody is paying. And the church is asking for other sources of funding to make sure that this is possible, because, well, for the nation to develop, the people must be educated to the highest level as possible and as widely as possible. What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Aban? Presbyterian Church saying, hey, government, don't do it alone. Get other sources.
Let us first agree that the free SHS policy is very, very good. And I always tell the story about myself. That, but for the Catholic Church, I may not have had secondary school education. Today I'm sitting here, some way, somehow, contributing my quota to the building of the nation. It's just because I had education. But in my case, we did not have free SHS. It was just by the benevolence of some individuals, and of course, the church. Those not to say, to disparage my parents, but the truth must be said the way it is. And so I can identify so much with the free SHS concept, which would give opportunity to people whose situation are like mine when I was young, so that they can also get good education and be responsible citizens in future. But the question is, as we go along, from the way it is funded, is it sustainable? There are people who think that, look, the time has come where other individuals who can pay for their work should be made to pay, so that our collective efforts would be to get those who cannot pay to also have education.
Is it a sensible argument?
Yes. Because the point is that if we are unable to sustain it and it busts, those who cannot pay will still fall by the wayside, and those who can pay would then resume payment again, and their children would move up while we leave the rest behind. And so if there are other ways of bringing in funding to make sure that it is sustainable, to get all of us to move in that educational ladder to get to where we'll have a well-educated community, why not?
How is it being funded now, this pre-SHS?
For now, everything is funded by government, so by taxpayers, as a collective. But when you take us individually, of course, so there are people who are stronger financially and may not need the government support to take their children to the secondary school, right? It's a good policy. The fundamental view that we should have SHS or education for everybody is a good policy. But the business of governance also is that as you go along, you take up things to make sure that it gets to a point of perfection. And so if we need to go back to the drawing table or the drawing board to see that, no, where we have reached, we should try to figure out who and who indeed cannot pay, and then deal with that. Why not?
Did it lessen pressure on you as an MP and a deputy minister, so less people came to ask you for support to send their children to secondary school, this free SHS? What was the impact on you personally?
Those calls still came, but not in the, I mean, not as much as previously. But there were other new kind of calls that also came.
I'm curious.
Because the point is that some others, apart from paying their school fees, I mean, apart from receiving payment of school fees by government and all that, still had other needs.
Like?
Oh, even chop box. You know, when you are coming from
free SHS, it doesn't come with free chop box.
Oh, nah. When you are coming from very rural community, I can assure you that don't think that once they say free SHS, everything is solved, everything is sorted out. And so you, the MP, there will be no demand on you, I can assure you. You will still have some, one demand or the other.
Okay.
Yes. But, of course, somebody, they will not come and tell you that I want money to pay fees, but I want money to do some other things, also in connection with their education.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is that the business of government is that you keep trying every day
to solve problems.
To solve problems.
Indeed.
And so if it gets to that point, why not?
Why not?
For me, I always want to be very practical with some of these things.
Indeed.
We should not go and say, oh, when we came, we said free SHS should be free in its entirety. So even if we are putting our neck in the news and we are going to die, we should still push it that
be practical.
No, we have to be practical about
Says Mr. Aban. To Mr. Kwanzaa, so over 446,000 candidates have begun their WASSCE examinations. It started yesterday. It can be argued that a lot of them may not have gotten to this stage without the free SHS. It's expanded access. But the funding could be a problem, and the Presby Church is averting our minds to that. What do you think about this whole business? Access funding.
The whole this whole free SHS thing. I remember somewhere in March 2017, I was in a studio like yours, and I made the same call. That look, the best way to handle this free SHS thing is let the privileged ones pay for the awards, and let the underprivileged ones, the government will take care of that. Look, the kind of insults I received on Facebook and other places, I was amazed. And you see, so when I heard the finance minister coming on TV to say same thing, I was saying, look, I'm now a prophet. You know why? You see, yeah, you see, we have people that we leap to. Leap. We have the database of those LEAP beneficiaries. So why didn't we start with them? They have been identified as underprivileged people. That the government even give them stipends for their upkeep. And those, Master, just imagine the number of students going from the GHS level, and ask how many of those who enter into SHS are from our public schools where maybe you don't pay school fees. People pay to the tune of 3,000, 4,000 for the awards in a GHS school. And the secondary school is one of the, Ghana, I think we were running one of the cheapest secondary schools. Those times, boarding school, everything, 750, 800. But meanwhile, you have a award in elementary school or primary school, you pay more than 3,000 for. So why can't we even use that data, to start? That is why we were then talking about making it progressively free. You see, if you decide, I was looking at a system where these day schools that President Mahama was building, we continue with the day schools. Let's get the 200 scattered. We've completed. Everyone who enters into that day school in that community is free. If you decide to send your son or your daughter to a boarding school, you pay. Because there's going to be feeding, electricity. You pay. So that those who will access the day school, you remember we started the free day school. All day students were not paying fees.
Community day schools.
Not only community day schools. All day school students were not paying fees from our time, because that was the starting point. Then gradually we move into maybe making it a wholesale free secondary. By then we would have thought of where the funding will come from. But hey, we made the promise that we want to give against free secondary school. We've given them free secondary school, but is the free coming with the quality that we are looking for? Look, we've spent so much money to order
past questions,
and they've started exams, and no school. We started exams when yesterday. I don't know how many schools have received their past questions, and I don't see even the rationale behind buying new past questions this year, because past questions are 5 years, like from 2013. So 2013 till now. Meanwhile, last year you bought that much, and the students didn't take it home. They left them. So why do you purchase same amount again? It's just waste on the public purse. Meanwhile, that money could have gone to my secondary school, Carnation Secondary Technical School, Kateko, to give them some 1 or 2 classrooms there. But we decided to use the money to buy. Meanwhile, we have the same amount, over 400-something thousand past questions from 2013 to 2020. So 2021, it's only 1 year difference. So the 1 year, last year questions are still there with the schools. So why don't you just add it to the old ones? But you need to go out and buy all. I mean, we are behaving as if the country is so rich that we have money to just spend anyhow.
We shall bring we shall chat with the education minister. And
yeah, because me, I don't seriously ask how many schools have received any past questions.
There was a concern yesterday that there were no past questions.
Yes, but meanwhile we've ordered them. Money have moved. You know, to buy past questions.
I'm sure there'll be a probe on that.
Yeah, meanwhile we have past questions from last year. Okay. That can be used. I mean, past questions are past questions. Those times, we go to the library, you have past questions, and you just, past questions is not going to help you pass the exams.
You must have something, knowledge in your head first before you even do
because
past questions.
It helps you, like the way you answer questions and whatever.
The format and everything.
Yes.
We'll talk about that.
Just a little.
Yes, just a little. You
know, when we were in the university, the government then at that time wanted to bring in a policy of brilliant but needy students to be held. Forms were circulated. Every Tom, Dick and Harry went to fill the forms. Those guys who were even driving cars on campus,
they were brilliant and needy.
Okay, that is the Ghanaian attitude.
We must be able to check these things.
That's the Ghanaian attitude.
There has to be systems.
And probably if they had started, if this policy, free SHS policy, had started in a staggered manner, that, we identify this as poor, so they should be the ones we should help, probably it could not have started.
Yeah, it's just
so
about
now
data.
That we have gone to this point.
No, boss, we've been giving money to people who are enjoying it.
You don't know what is happening in some villages on the leap. Look,
what is happening?
Sometimes you go around to give the stipend and realize that the real beneficiary has died and the daughter is there taking the money. That's Ghanaian attitude. So don't just talk about leap. We must talk to our people.
We just want data to work with. Look, can't we decentralize this for every district? I mean, they will give you the data. Every town will give you their data. They know. Look, when I set up my education fund, I realized that my friends who are even working are the ones sometimes who come to me for their children's school fees and that kind of thing. So I quickly have to set up an education fund. Have one of the chiefs to be there. So when application comes to my office, all the applications goes to the chief. So the chief is the one who is going to vet to say that where do you work? Who is your father? Who is your mom? Then they will write back to me and say that A, B, C, D qualifies for.
How is it working?
No, I don't know. I left office in 2017 January. So
and it died.
And the thing died with the passage of your
oh yeah. I mean, yeah, because it was something. It was something that I was using part of my GET fund
to sustain.
And
your predecessor didn't jump on it.
No, I don't know. Maybe he would like, because the thing was in my name. So definitely, politics.
Yeah.
When he comes, he is going to.
Maybe you should have put it in the name of the community. They would have stayed.
But we are doing politics, so your name should be that particular thing should be synonymous
with you.
Yeah, man.
That's a frank admission. Well, thank you.
I mean, yeah.
Mr. Abba is smiling. Let's go to Kaswa, because the news out of Kaswa is not that great. I mean, the great news yesterday was that the Ghana police have carved out a new administrative region. So it's now called Central East, to cover Kaswa and its environs. The gruesome news, though, is that yesterday, we had front page of today's Daily Guide, we killed pregnant woman. So these are two teenagers whose killing of an 11-year-old boy at Kaswa in the Central Region during the Easter holiday sparked outrage. They've made another confession. They were brought to the Kaneshie District Magistrate Court in Accra yesterday, and during the committal proceedings, one of them told the court that they killed a pregnant woman in Kaswa prior to the killing of the 11-year-old. Such an unfortunate situation. He's called Ishmael Mensa Abdallah for money rituals. That's the whole thing. So one of the suspects, Felix Nyako, aka Yawanani, whose age has been ascertained by the police as 16, made the confession during proceedings and said it was done with his accomplice, whose age was given as 18. Crowd was astonished. The other 18-year-old guy said, no, he's not part of it. But he says this is what they did. This 16-year-old is claiming that the ghost of the 11-year-old has been haunting him, so he's had to make these confessions. They say they were watching television before they killed the young boy, when they saw an advert which promised to make people rich overnight. So Nyako said he picked the number, told his friend about the advert, and they called a woman, confirmed that what they had seen on TV was true, promising to make them rich. They said they would need a child, an amount of 5,000 to complete the mission. And once they killed the child, she would send her boys in Kaswa to pick up the body of the deceased boy, and with the money, and escort them somewhere in the Volta region. So this is the background to the whole story. Issue of, I see so many issues here. There's this whole money ritual, get rich quick thing, and the fact that we have these broadcasts on television which are not being regulated. As a former Deputy Minister for Communication, what are your thoughts? Regulating, the regulatory body is failing, Ghanaians.
It's a balancing act. I may have to take you to Article 162 of the Constitution about freedom of the media. I may also take you to I've forgotten the article, but somewhere in Article 12 or something like that, which is dealing with freedom of expression. Right? That's as against regulating content. I do not want us to blame NCA because they do not regulate content. You're going for license, you qualify, you pay for the necessary and all that. We have.
So they can take your license away from you?
They can.
Why can't they take the license away from these people who broadcast this business?
But that's what I'm saying, that some of these things you may have to do it by probably even suing for the court to make a pronouncement on it. Otherwise, very soon, not NCA, but the government may be accused of plunging the country into culture of silence. So we must be very careful. Politicians haven't helped in these matters, because if NCA as an entity should even pounce strongly on these people, before you realize our friends on the opposite side will start saying, oh, we want to bring culture of silence. So it's a delicate issue.
But how can somebody advertise on television that if you pay me this money, I'll make you rich overnight? They call and they say, bring a body of a child. How can a broadcast like this be allowed to air?
I don't think that portion of bring a body will be part of the broadcast.
Of course.
That would be the private conversation after they have seen the advert that I can make you rich.
But the advert led to that.
Okay. But that's why we have to look at what goes into it. In fact, that's because of this digital channels. There's so many. When you scroll through the various channels,
there are so many.
So many.
But Mr. Aban, you can call that number, and that NCA can call that number, and that priestess, whoever at the end of the line, will respond and say, do this and this, and that becomes your evidence.
I think we should start.
Yeah.
We should start following them, so we know exactly what it is. But as we talk about that, the get rich is not only through rituals. What about the other side of, betting? It is the order of the day now. So the spiritual side is only an aspect of it. Then we have the betting side too, trying to tell people that, look, work doesn't pay. It is luck that pays.
Work doesn't pay, it is luck that pays. I want you to end on that note. Let me bring Mr. Kwanzaa. So people have been killed because young boys
that's unfortunate.
want to make money, and broadcasts are being allowed to air. There are dimensions, as Mr. Aban has said. There must be a solution to this.
Yeah, I think it's a will. The will the NCA should have to stop all this, you know? Because I remember I went to my village once and, you know, I was just lying in bed, started scrolling through, I mean, like, I was going through channels and 3 channels on a row. You see people with, like, you know, dressed in a Kung Fu style, you know, some regalia, then they will bring a box and money. I mean, so I was like,
magic.
So, is this what, I mean,
people are watching this
on TV.
Digital TV.
I was shocked. I was shocked. And it's still, and people, like you said, people go on, they will call, people even on some of our radio stations. Some people will say they are Kung Fu, they give lotto numbers. And that kind of thing, you will call, they will give you the lotto number. Well, these are people who buy airtime.
Mr. Haman says if the government cracks down, your folks will jump on them.
You see, that is where they always go wrong. Look, if you are doing something and the thing is to benefit Ghanaians, our MPs sitting down there, or we as a political party, are we that dumb to like fight it because it's a good thing? Look, it's the manner you do it. Like you said, it's easier to clean out those people. Look, you can just take your time, have your media monitors, let them monitor the media space. You understand me? And you get to know all those stations. All you tell them is fine. If you don't want to even close them down, you ban those adverts. And you see, it will bring in the human rights issues. You know, because we are a secular state. We have freedom of worship. We have freedom of expression. If I want to worship my voodoo, I can travel from here to wherever, do my dancing and whatever. And nobody needs to arrest me. But if the thing comes to killing, rituals, that involves killing, then we are going out of hand.
It's a whole new level.
So we should be able to make sure that those stations, I mean, they air good programs in the morning.
Indeed.
Yeah,
take out the weeds and keep the good, so that the good plants can flourish.
We can always do that.
Messrs. Kwanzaa and Aban, thank you so much for your engaging conversation. I cannot let you leave without commenting on a video that is hot and trending today. It involves a man of the cloth busily planting his lips on the lips of young girls. There's a video that is trending. We're going to show it to you right now. I want you to comment on this before we go. This is it's at a school in Mampong, apparently in the Ashanti region, where this Osofo is busily kissing these women, young girls. You'll see it pretty soon. And I just want your comment on that. It's trending all over. So this is the picture that I want you to have a look at, the video. So at an event, I wish you could have some audio to hear what they actually, because people were actually jubilating. So the guy, they come over, they take off their masks. Okay, this one's mask was on. He planted a kiss. Another one comes.
Who is that woman jubilating?
Yeah, people were happy. They were excited. You know, and then the third one actually had her mask taken off. And then he locked his lips on hers for a very passionate kiss. This is a man of the cloth. We hear he's an Anglican. What are your thoughts before we go?
I don't know, you know. Maybe the Holy Spirit asked him to give them a holy kiss.
In this pandemic era?
I don't know. I mean, you see, sometimes we don't know what come over. I mean, this is not biblical. This is not offending. I don't know. I don't know where he got the idea from. Kiss the girls and let them smile.
I don't even know.
Have you watched that movie?
I've seen that movie, Mr. Abbott. I mean, come on. You are in a deep meditative state.
Yes, because I've seen him in his chasuble, and as a Catholic, I lost a heartbeat thinking that maybe he's a Catholic, but he said it's Anglican. But whatever it is, he's somebody who is a priest.
It's amazing.
For Christ's sake, I mean, in our church, we have what we call kiss of peace.
Kiss of peace.
Yes.
That definitely was not a kiss of peace.
But yes, but that one It is called Kiss of Peace because of the cultural area where it's coming from, where people use hug kiss to show love, right? But even that is not. In fact, in the case of our culture, when it gets to Kiss of Peace, it's actually handshake.
Yes, and even now because of pandemic, we don't even handshake.
Now we wave.
Not even elbows, we wave.
Okay, we just wave.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the authorities can deal with this.
They should deal with him. I think maybe our time is up.
Our time is up, but thank you so much. Where did you go to school? Secondary school. What's your secondary school?
I went to seminary.
Oh, you could have been a priest.
Yes.
Oh, okay, but
I went to St. Teresa's Seminary.
You definitely would not have been doing that.
Definitely not.
You would have been a real holy man. Thank you very much, Alexander Abba, former Deputy Minister of Communications, Deputy Minister for Health, and Mr. Aquinas Kwanzaa, former Central Regional Minister. You went to a school that we used to fear a lot in Kako. Kateko. When we hear of Kateko, we are scared. I tell you. You guys are great. Yeah. Thank you so much. This is GTV Breakfast. We've got, keep an eye for you, we've got a conversation on Afghanistan. The president has fled. The country is in the hands of the Taliban. What is the interest of Ghana as far as what is happening? America failed, is what Mr. Aban said. We'll see what Mr. Bombali has to say about this. And there's a conversation also on road traffic accidents. T will be doing that. And as well, Valerie will talk about improved communication in relationships. You stay. This is #GTV Breakfast, brought to you by Awake Purified Drinking Water, Shield Acrylic Paints, and of course, Adonko Next Level Energy Drink. You stay.
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Are you ready? It's heat hot, and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news, making the headlines, how to navigate traffic,
what's up with the weather,
your health check, getting you up to speed on lifestyle,
sports,
word of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you, with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast weekdays at 6 a.m.
Yes, you're still watching #GTV Breakfast. You've missed quite a bit of the conversations already. Right now we're going to keep an eye on Wasi, the West Africa Senior Secondary Certificate Examination, which started nationwide yesterday. And my colleague is there at the center at Presec, Osu Presec. What can you tell us? What's happening there now?
We are connected.
Yes, we are trying to get in touch with the team at Osu Presec to tell us what proceedings are like for the ongoing examination. And mind you, it's nationwide and it's for senior high school students. So, Alan, can you tell us what's happening there?
Well, thank you very much. We're currently at the Osu Presec Senior High School, and as you're all aware, welcome all viewers to Osu Presec Senior High School. As you're all aware, the WASI West Africa Senior Secondary School or Certificate Examination is currently underway. It started yesterday, and we're told today's paper is a bit practical because they're doing ceramics. And so in about the next 45 minutes, students are going to convene at the center and get on with the works. I managed to get hold of the school's counselor, Madame Rosemond. She wouldn't give us her last name, but those who know Super know who the counselor is. Madame Rosemond explained, especially with preparedness towards this exam, students are really very much fired up. They have been adequately and sufficiently educated and trained for these exams today. And so it used to do with examination apprehensions leading to sicknesses and the rest of them is out of the question. Again, I managed to speak to the man in charge of exam, Mr. Sowa, his name is. He also affirmed what Madame Rosemond had said earlier, that students are really very much fired up for this, and they are all ready, very well prepared. The assemblyman for the area, Honorable George Annan, is available to speak to us, and so I will get Honorable George Annan to join us. Good morning, welcome, Honorable Annan.
Good morning, sir.
Honorable, this is directly under your supervision or jurisdiction as the Honorable Assemblyman for the area. Did you at any point pick up any issues relating to this exam, especially about students' preparedness for the exams?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. So far, we've not heard anything. This area partially doesn't fall on my own. It falls an Honorable RAS setting. We shared boundaries by the school force and the Ringway Letra area. But as we are all in the same vicinity, I can specifically say that nothing has been heard so far. By His grace, the children have prepared, the teachers have given all their best. We are just hoping that these children come out successfully with flying colors.
Thank you so very much, Honorable. Apart from perhaps what knowledge you have about their preparedness for these exams, earlier on you mentioned to me what problems you have, not directly to do with the examination or the school, but neighbors and the way they're invading the premises of the school for their own neighborhood activities.
Exactly so. Thank you so much. People around have been very problematic to the school, in the sense that we have a lot of young men and women who are not going to school and also not working, but you see them behind the school wall smoking. To be specific, these people are nuisance to the school. They've been causing a lot of havoc, stealing their furniture, their books, and others.
Before we zero in on the thefts around the school, how do you think this attitude of young men in the neighborhood, which you earlier on mentioned are a problem to the school, how do you envisage their attitude or the activities going to have an effect on the students directly in the school?
Yes, these people have a lot of ripple effects on the school. You know, as children as they are, if they see others doing things, you know, our young men around do copy blindly. So these people who are a nuisance to the school, I believe some of these young men may copy. So therefore, as honorable members around the school facility, the 5 electoral areas, we are assembly members in collaboration with the police. We've been trying to scare them, suck them away. But then they out, they go today, tomorrow. You see, they're coming back again.
So if I got you right, you're collaborating with the police to ensure a certain sanity around.
Exactly so.
How do you also look forward to bringing on civil society organizations, some based in this community, to partner with you to ensure that these students would not copy blindly, and also those young men around who probably, due to unemployment, may be involved in these vices, to get them off those vices?
Thank you. The school counselor, in collaboration with the OEPC church and counselors, have been doing so well by talking to these young men and women that engaging themselves into these deviant behaviors are not good. So with that aspect, the church and the council of this school are doing well. We also have to maybe beef up our efforts as members with the police as well, to talk to other organizations who can come to our aid, go out there to educate these young men and women to keep away from smoking these herbs, which are also harmful to their health as well.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I'll take leave of you for now. But before you go, if there's any one thing you want to mention, especially to those students whose parents may be watching us by now because they will be on the way to the center for the exams, what would you say to them relative to encouraging them to keep to the straight and narrow and focus on their books?
Thank you so much. Finally, what I can say is, I would encourage all parents to be able to encourage their various wards in the morning when they're in. Just give them a pat at the back. Come on, my child, you can do it. Encourage them. Tell them that this is not the end of the road. This is rather the beginning of better things to come. And also encourage all the parents also to bring their wards as well to the school compound. Encourage them, and also come and give some encouragement to the teachers as well. Then collectively, these children will come out with flying colors, and they will see them better off in the future.
Thank you so very much, Honorable George Annan, for speaking to GTV, the program Breakfast. And this is Keep an Eye. So we're working with you, we're keeping an eye on the issues you have raised relative to this community. Thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you. Well, so Kafui and team, as you have heard rightly from the Honorable Member for the Kote, is it the electoral area, King Kanwe, Osu King Kanwe, the electoral area. This Honorable Member, George Annan, his name is, had given us a few issues, not necessarily directly affecting his work, but his concern is with the way that will affect students and also school children in this area. I must also mention that because of timing, we were not able to interact directly with any of the candidates writing the exams at this point. But behind the scenes, we have seen a lot of work, especially going on and making sure that every single thing that needs taking care of is in place to ensure the exams go smoothly. And as the Assembly Member mentioned, students come out with flying colors.
Thank you so much, Alan, for that very detailed report on proceedings at Osu Presec, where the WASI is taking place. We are being told they're writing their ceramics practical, so they're not necessarily writing, but they will be making some presentations of what they've done. And
fond memories for you, WASI? Did you write WASI?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I didn't.
I wouldn't expect that you did.
I'm an old man.
But you did O and A levels.
I did O levels and A levels. Way back.
But examinations remain the same. It's just a bunch of questions on a paper that you should have pre-prepared for, that you respond, and then you're taken away, marked, and then your destiny is revealed to you.
Did you have past schools to work on in the preparation?
Yep, I did.
Okay, all right.
So we had I mean, Tama Secondary School, big up Tama.
Okay.
So we had teachers very dedicated who will take us through. Not all of us passed, but here we are. Okay. I keep saying it, the school doesn't really matter. Even when it comes to Presec, there's a conversation of, oh, is it also Presec or Legon Presec? A school is a school. It's what you make of the grades that matter. But I'm quite impressed to see this year's setup. Last year we had some 375,000 plus candidates sitting. This year we have about 446,000 candidates. So a lot more candidates coming out to write this year's WASI, and over almost 1,000 schools, public and private, taking part. We hope that everything goes well. for now that they've started vocational and, you know, technical practicals. We will keep an eye, like Alan said, on everything that unfolds from that.
What's your biggest tip to anybody who's going to write the exams today?
Prepare.
At this stage?
Yes, because even if it's the morning off, I know people would say, oh, you have to prepare ahead, but there's a critical window for some people who can absorb very fast at the last minute. So if you're a last minute person, well, this is your chance.
All right.
Get in there.
Keeping an eye on the trends too. Reverend Father is trending for obvious reasons. The unholy case is going all over Twitter.
Well, because I'm very biased about that particular story.
Yeah, I don't like it myself.
So I would just, I mean, I hope that he gets the appropriate sanctions. So much more to look forward to in this package. We're still going to have that conversation about what's happening in Afghanistan and what it means for the rest of the world as the Taliban has taken over. Val has that crucial sit down on effective communication in marriage coming up. And of course, our road safety people will be here to answer some of your burning questions on road safety and why we keep seeing the numbers of accidents we see on our roads. All this coming up in this package. Don't go, we'll be right back.
Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the Breakfast Show. Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the Breakfast Show. Live from GBC Studio 1, this is the Breakfast Show. Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Are you ready? It's heat hot, and we are serving you breakfast. A la carte.
It's a brand new packaged breakfast served on GTV, our style, keeping you on track and updated on
news making the headlines, how to navigate traffic,
what's up with the weather,
your health check, getting you up to speed on
lifestyle,
sports,
word of showbiz, what's hot and what's not.
It's our date in the morning just for you, with the team you can trust.
It's breakfast weekdays at 6 a.m.
Don't be late.
Coming live from the capital, this is the Breakfast Show.
Yeah, thanks for staying with us. We are going to be talking about Afghanistan for the next few minutes. We know that the Taliban has taken over control of the capital city, Kabul, and hundreds of people are trying to flee. We've heard reports of diplomatic missions sending, 1,000 to 2,000 people planes to get their nationals out of the country, a potential crisis looming in Afghanistan. But what does it mean for all of us elsewhere in the world? You might argue that Afghanistan is so far away, but does it have implications for our own security and how we handle terrorism? And we are going to engage the expert opinions of Dr. Emmanuel Bombande. He's former Deputy Foreign Minister and UN Senior Mediation Advisor in the Central African Republic. Dr. Bombande, thanks for joining us.
Good morning to you and good morning to all your viewers.
Right, thank you so much. As a way of introducing the topic, to put it into more perspective, how did we arrive at this point where we are seeing such scenes and such reports from Afghanistan? We remember September 11, which was 20 years ago. We remember the fall of Osama bin Laden. We remember the announcement of US troops being withdrawn from Afghanistan. How did it all culminate into what we see there now?
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite. If we want to understand where we are now, we have to appreciate it from the start. And you have given a perspective already almost 20 years ago with September 11th, 2001. Now, legitimately, the United States went to Afghanistan in self-defense on account of the establishment of Afghanistan having been used as the base by Al-Qaeda to organize and launch attacks on the United States. And so, in just war theory, the United States always thought that they would go out in self-defense to attack the people who organized and launched those terrorist attacks in New York and Washington. Now, the challenge then is that clarity of a goal was established yesterday when the President of the United States, Joe Biden, spoke to the nation. And he talked about the goals and the objectives of the United States intervention. Then he went on to establish the fact that 20 years later, almost 20 years later, should the United States continue to occupy Afghanistan? And the narrative is simple, that the United States cannot continue to be the police of the world. And I think the President of the United States is trying to be the one who will take all the criticism, but to begin to reset how to engage on the issues that we are discussing. With that quick background, the challenge is knowing very well that the objectives for which the United States went have been achieved, if you were to frame it that way. I thought the events we are seeing today are a manifestation of the total failure of a strategic thinking about how the people of Afghanistan themselves could take their own destiny into their own hands. And so you saw elections being organized, and we've had a situation in which the verdict is that the elections were not transparent and were not credible. And I'm not talking about Ashraf Ghani, I'm talking about his predecessor. And in the case of Ashraf Ghani, it was more about the number of people who actually participated in the elections. And what you then see finally happen is that in 2020, the United States started a direct negotiation with the Taliban. And those negotiations were simply to try as much as possible and satisfy their own self-interest of how the Taliban should not attack the personnel of the armed forces of the United States. I think the first strategic mistake was, even if the legitimate government of Afghanistan through an election, even if there were issues around the elections, internationally and diplomatically, the Ashraf Ghani government was the legitimate representative of the people. They should have been a key stakeholder in the dialogue, in the mediation in Doha. That did not happen. And I think what we are seeing now is simply underlining the fact that the Taliban had already won the war through the mediation in Doha. Why do I say that? Because the government of Afghanistan started to lose its credibility once its voice was weakened around the table. And if you fast track it, now everybody was expecting that Afghanistan's armed forces would stand and defend Kabul and fight off the Taliban. But how could they do that when they have lost the political battle? And I think based on this premise and the fact that there was no exit strategy, because the exit strategy should have involved in the planning the government of Afghanistan, we then saw a situation in which even before the fall of Kabul and as peace talks were going on in Doha, the Taliban never kept its word, never kept its promise. They would talk today about halting the violence, but every day they were taking towns, they were killing people. And the worst part of it, which basically terrifies many people around the world, is how women continue to be a target. That gender, that simply continues to be selected and targeted and treated differently and inhumanely. And if you put all this into context, I thought that the Taliban already lost the war. But if you talk about the role of the United States as a country, they also lost the war once they shifted from their original objectives of intervention and went into other areas that made their continuous stay in Afghanistan no longer to be relevant.
And while we are on the topic of the U.S. and their participation or not in the Afghan conflict, you mentioned that they may have achieved their objectives. And so now what started with President Bush announcing the invasion of that territory and then the subsequent presidents also committing what has now amounted to trillions of dollars and the loss of hundreds of American lives, if not more, to that purpose. Do you see that as an achieved objective? We're looking at Afghans who think they may have been let down by the U.S. administration, and so they feel that they do not deserve what is happening to them, and they blame the U.S. for that.
So your summary or the way you have framed it raises, in my view, further very important questions. I think one, the mindset that the United States should have been the guarantor of the peace and the security of Afghanistan was in itself completely flat-footed. And so right from the word go, the people of Afghanistan should not have seen the United States to be the one that will guarantee their peace and security. But I would say that by and large, they knew that. I think the people of Afghanistan accepted that the United States could have played a role, but never to be the guarantor of that security and that stability.
But Dr. Bombande, 20 years on, where are the weapons of mass destruction that President Bush told us they were going to find?
And those are, so that is one of the strategic mistakes that was committed. So after invading Afghanistan with the clear objective, and when you talked about whether that was achieved, because they were able to dislodge Al-Qaeda. So if you talk about Al-Qaeda having been dislodged, and that Afghanistan could no longer be the base for Al-Qaeda to operate, to that extent you can say the objective of the invasion was achieved. But by now going to Iraq in the set of weapons of mass destruction, which was never actually there, and that the international community was misled, including the Security Council, with the insistence that there were weapons of mass destruction, you then saw that the war effort of the U.S. went into several different directions, and those were the beginnings of the big challenges and the big mistakes. So as we speak, the question then would be, can Afghanistan become again the base for Al-Qaeda to organize terrorism, not just in Asia, in Central Asia, but also across the world? And if that were to be the case, or if we see that to happen, then we can say that the 20-year effort was totally misplaced and completely, in my view, a failure.
Do you foresee the UN intervening in this situation, and what can the rest of the world do, because this is a diplomatic matter with security implications across the world?
Interestingly, over the period, the posturing of the big players and the powerful nations of the world, as much as possible, diminish the role of the United Nations. And that is the problem. Now, yesterday, the Security Council was very clear that under the circumstances, they were expecting an all-inclusive government that would have Afghans represented, including women. But this is the Security Council that over a time has been weakened. So the question is, would the resolution yesterday in the Security Council chamber be respected on the ground? I would say that if that were to be the case, we could begin to see a new effort of the rebuilding of Afghanistan, in which the Taliban would recognize that they cannot have the monopoly and total use of force to dominate and govern Afghanistan. But that can only happen when the approach is multilateral. We need to shift back to a United Nations that is able to coordinate and mobilize all players, whether powerful nations or smaller nations like ours, so that we can all contribute to global solutions. But when the United Nations becomes weak in its role, then you have the type of problems that we are having. Because even in the peace talks in Doha, the United Nations was not able to play the centrality of its role. And yet the special representative of the Secretary General and head of the UN office in Afghanistan has been warning and giving clear signals about what was likely going to happen. But heed was not given. And I think that the permanent members of the Security Council have to change their approach and posture in how we are handling complex conflicts such as in Afghanistan that affect the entire globe when you put it in the context of terrorism.
Right. Dr. Bombande Kafui here. What does the takeover of the Taliban have to do with us here in Ghana? Why should we be concerned? Ghana, West Africa, Africa?
My good friend and brother, if we were to take a flight out of Accra right now into Tamale, it would just be a matter of another 3 to 4 hours drive, and we enter Burkina Faso. And you just have to go now towards Ouagadougou. And the signs are very clear of the impact of violent extremism and terrorism to our neighbors to the north that is very close to us and constantly knocking on our own doors. I put it in this perspective to suggest that because these terrorist groups in the Sahel region have affiliated themselves with global terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda and ISIS, what is happening in Afghanistan has a direct bearing, because if Afghanistan becomes a real base again, as it did before 2001, where it was an incubator for the organization of terrorism and terrorist attacks, with the affiliation of these groups already in West Africa, Boko Haram had publicly declared itself linked to ISIS and sees itself as the ISIS of West Africa, and all these different groups across the Sahel belt and into the Sahara have affiliated themselves with these terrorist groups. We also know that the Taliban, even as we speak, has not disconnected itself with Al-Qaeda. It will therefore suggest that the situation could become more exacerbated in terms of the support for terrorist groups and their organization across the Sahel belt. If that were to be the case, it will be very close to us, the Gulf states, not just Ghana, but Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, and obviously Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali continue to suffer the brunt. The entire West Africa region could even become more volatile, much more difficult to deal with in terms of counter-terrorism and how we are responding to insurgency. And that is why we have to pay particular attention, because Afghanistan might be far away and yet it is so near us.
Dr. Bombande, Nigeria's president, President Buhari, has issued a statement, and among other things, he's saying Africa specifically, for example, does not necessarily need armed forces, maybe from the US, coming to intervene, but has suggested other ways in which the West could help in conflict situations. Why should the West get involved, especially considering how much the US is having to suffer consequences for what is happening in Afghanistan now?
A very pertinent question you asked. I recall in 2017, at that time, I was speaking out of Bangui as I was obliged. And I raised critical observations advocating and suggesting that Ghana should not go the way of an enhanced military cooperation with the United States Army, simply because those types of cooperation creates a certain illusion that we are outsourcing our capacity of ensuring our security to a powerful force that then in itself can create a certain disorientation and demotivation of our own capacities. If you look at our own personnel and if you look at our own capacities for mobilization. I use that argument in the context of the Nigerian statement from the president that you have just quoted. And I will suggest that I think strategically it is wrong to assume that the United States should be the one we should rely on to provide the type of security we need in West Africa. Obviously, he was speaking in the context of Nigeria, but it extends also across West Africa. And to then go further, to suggest that what we need, first of all, is to have clarity of understanding that when we are dealing with issues that relate to such insurgencies, the solution begins, first of all, as a political solution. That we should continue to strive to enhance that the entire West Africa space of its 15 member nations enhance democratic practice, deepen democracy, and along with it, good governance. That is inclusive of everybody, and that allows the space for gender inclusion. It allows the space for the sharing of perspectives that then inform policy making. And when we are able to succeed in this, it also brings to the fore how we prioritize security, stability, and peace in the training and the retraining and the capacity building of the security agencies. And once we do that and continue to enhance regional cooperation, regional approaches, to your question now, we explore meaningful partnerships. Now, when we sit together with the United States or the European Union, we are exploring military partnerships that are meaningful to us based on the gaps that we have identified collectively and how those gaps then can be filled. For example, if the gaps are military training capacities or logistics or the type of intelligence that might not be adequate and can be revamped with the type of training and access to different sources of intelligence gathering, then we are leading because the ownership is us and we are not exploring with others how to fill the gaps.
Dr. Bombande, so beyond the political conversations, we are witnessing scenes of what appears to be very chaotic. For example, at the airport, people are trying to flee. You've alluded to violence against women and the vulnerable in society. What does the future look like for Afghanistan, especially when it comes to what the world can do now to help fix? We're seeing scenes from the airport now, from yesterday, the military, U.S. military cargo plane that tried to take off. It had 640 people on board. and these are the realities on the ground now. What's the future here?
So, first of all, I want to go back to my argument about multilateralism. So what we should be seeing already is that there must be global cooperation that puts sufficient pressure on the Taliban to begin a certain form of legitimizing itself. That the fact that you could go into the presidential palace in Kabul with weapons and then take over power and then rule in itself cannot be sustainable. Now, interestingly, Afghanistan has these councils of elders they call the Lower Jaga. They need to sit down and have a broad-based consultation that legitimizes their rule in one form or the other and then deepens it. Now, that becomes important because their situation can affect the rest of us, and if there is illegitimacy in terms of the representatives of the peoples of Afghanistan in political leadership, it will give ground to other groups rising up against the Taliban.
Right.
And so you are going to see a vicious cycle.
It sounds like it sounds like the UN and the diplomatic community and the international community will have their hands full with this one, and will continue to monitor the situation, and I'm sure we'll have need in time to get back to you for further brief on this matter, because I'm sure you'll be monitoring very rapidly, Dr. Bombande. Thank you so much for your time with us on The Breakfast this morning. We've been speaking to Dr. Emmanuel Bombande, his former Deputy Foreign Minister and UN Senior Mediation Advisor in the Central African Republic. We've been discussing Afghanistan and what the happenings there mean for our security in Ghana, in the sub-region, and even across the rest of Africa and the world. You're watching Breakfast. And next in this conversation, we'll have that critical sit down on the carnage on our roads, and the road safety people are in the house to answer questions.
Exactly, and behind the numbers are human stories. So I asked the question yesterday on Facebook, what's it like to be involved in a road traffic accident? And Will Hemina said, it's really horrific. Mine was like a movie because I saw what was coming to happen, but couldn't do anything about it until the head-on collision, like that. I sustained multiple injuries on both legs, hip fracture on tibia and fibular bone, and multiple wounds, bedridden for over 6 months, multiple surgeries 12 years ago. And I still walk with the help of a walking aid. Traumatized, exclamation mark.
It brings back such horrible memories for me personally, yes, because indeed. I've also survived a similar incident, and I was out of work for three months. Wow. And beyond, still doing physio to correct all the other stuff. So many questions that we need to put to the National Road Safety, and we'll engage them right after this. Don't go away.
kwabena meka kwabena bo mia na meka oni a owa akoko bebrem kosua nya nena dimi me baako mienu ntime mfrensa ofimpo ohwe na baa mesi wo nipa ya kan ebubu ni agu ya so mesi afem manhwe ya mesi metomu mehu ha ye hu kane a afedi ye mehu sum owu akede mafoda sane metukum ni ekoso na nse ye mesi ya bomi abena bedu ne ba bedu ye siwewu ya umenu ne wafa.
Thanks for staying with us in TV Breakfast. Thanks for remaining with this channel. And in this segment, we'll be talking about carnage on our roads. The National Road Safety Authority, established by Act 993 in 2019 to replace the National Road Safety Commission, is the lead public agency for road safety improvement in Ghana, with a mandate to develop, promote, coordinate and regulate activities, procedures and standards related to road safety. And though the authority has been up to the task, accidents continue to occur on our roads. Latest data from the Police Motor Traffic and Transport Department (MTTD) indicates that 256 more people were killed in July alone. And between January to July, 1,716 lives have been lost to road traffic accidents in the country. Over the weekend, MP for South Dine, Honorable Roxanne Nelson Dahwemekpo, was involved in a near-fatal accident, and barely 6 hours after that crash, we've heard also that the Minister for Employment, Mr. Ignatius Bafwewa, was also involved in a crash. The question is, what are we not doing right? And we have from the National Road Safety Authority, the Public Relations Officer, Madam Pearl Edusu JC, to help us understand why these things happen. Madam, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We've looked at what the statistics hold. We have some footage also that we will show you very shortly, and it does not tell a very good story. If you look at the number of accidents just on this program alone, we've seen one on the Accra Mall side of town. A trotro has run into a wall with passengers on board. We still don't know how many people are hurt. The report from the motorway, nothing to write home about. Potholes just approaching the bridge, and you see the pictures of the minister's accident also on your screen. This is a V8, a vehicle in top condition presumably, and look at the extent of damage that we are seeing. These are other scenes of other accidents that we've witnessed on our roads in recent times, and we are seeing all these things, and we ask ourselves, so all this while that we've been talking about road safety, and we've been advocating for you know, don't speed, don't drink and drive and all that, it doesn't appear that it's taking us anywhere. Madam Pearl.
Good morning to your cherished viewers. Good morning to all your workers. The carnage on our roads, as Kafui described it earlier, is very horrific, unexpected and unacceptable. It has been going on for some time, and the commission then, its core mandate is to create the awareness of road safety issues and then sensitize people. And so for the past 20 years, we've been engaged in road safety awareness creation. That is what we do. We promote road safety, we coordinate it related activities. But 10 years back, we realized that alone is not solving the issues. And so we started crying for a higher mandate. And God being so good, 2019 in August, the government accepted the Road Safety Authority Act 993, which gave us the mandate to become an authority so that we could do more beyond the awareness creation.
So what more can you do now that you could not do before? Because these numbers, 1,706 lives from January to July alone, that's more people than, it's almost twice the number of those who have died from COVID-19 in Ghana.
Yeah, actually we all have seen that the statistics shows that the trend, or the statistics shows a worrying trend. It has become a real public health issue. And so we've been given the authority to now regulate the transport sector.
What would that mean?
The regulation is now that we should look at how the commercial public service sector does its work. We need to now make them responsible for what they do, and then also regulate the institutions that are into road safety management. And so everybody should be responsible for what you have to do to promote road safety.
I'm sure that you've monitored events as a commission, and now that the National Road Safety is an authority, and I'm sure you have identified a trend. So what exactly do you want to tackle head on in these days because of these figures that we are seeing?
All right. Over the years, we've realized the indicators shows that from, let's say, from 2005, people were not much aware of road safety issues. They were less than 40%. But till 2019, it has risen to about 85% awareness creation. But what do they do with this awareness?
Exactly what my question would be. If you know about it and the numbers keep rising, then where are we?
Yeah, where are we? We don't do anything. You know, there are institutions that are stakeholders in road safety. For instance, it doesn't take only awareness creation or education or sensitization to complete the road safety management cycle. The enforcement has to come, engineering has to be there, emergency response has to come in. So the institutions that are related to all these things, what are they doing? Are they responsible for the standards they've set for themselves? So now we've come in as authority to regulate them so that they will be up and doing and make sure that the standard that they've set, they will abide by it. Otherwise, there will be sanctions to their work, so that we will see that they comply to their own standards. That's what. And then the transport operators also are up and doing. We will look at the quality of the vehicles that they bring on board, their operational plans, also what they do on the road that promote crashes. The mandate says that we now have to see to it that the crashes reduce drastically. So those are the things we have to do by coordinating their activities and regulating their activities, and then making them comply. If you don't comply, there is sanction to what you do. In the time past, we were just advising. When, for instance, there is a construction of a road or there's an engineering defect, we come in and advise. They may take it or not. Most of the time, they don't. And it goes a long way to promote those crashes. But now, we have to see to it that you are accountable for what you do as an institution or as an operator.
So you are alluding to a multi-stakeholder effort in this collective road safety campaign that we all should be interested in. And earlier on in the program, we watched a story on the Achimota stretch, for example, where guardrails have broken down and people are crossing the road at the wrong places, and so drivers try to avoid them, and so they hit road signs, they hit traffic lights are down. One of our colleagues told us on the Gimpa stretch, the road signs are actually, they've been knocked over, they're tilted, they are not being seen clearly by motorists. Who is supposed to be in charge of all this? Who is monitoring, and whose duty is it to see that they are fixed, because it's part of the problem?
Yeah, thank you very much. In the past, there are major stakeholders to road safety, as I've said already. Some, when we look at signs and billboards and other things, the assemblies should be responsible in fixing them and then showing where it should be situated.
So just look at some of the scenes that we witnessed.
Yeah.
And some have been stolen by scrap dealers, and we approached some of the assemblies for comment, and they would rather not talk about it. Look at this one, a traffic light that has been knocked over and is almost falling off at Ofankor barrier. Who is monitoring these things, and shouldn't they pick them up as soon as possible after they happen, so that we avert what could be a looming disaster? The
situation on the ground shows that in the past there was no real monitoring system.
But there is now?
There is, because our new mandate gave us that power to employ or recruit road safety inspectors. We did just last year over 100 road safety inspectors for the start.
Across the country?
Across the country. We've trained them, continuing training them. And so they will do road inspection. They will do premises inspection. They will go to the terminals and the station, look at the condition of drivers and their vehicles, and the condition of the surrounding areas, that when a car moves, is it in the right condition to move? Is the driver in the right senses to move the car? And then when they are on the road or on the road itself, what is happening there? And so when all this inspection goes on, then they report back to the head office, and then we contact the appropriate agency or institution which should be responsible for certain infrastructure, or one or two infrastructures. So if it is for the assembly, then we'll write to you to comply to your standards, because a billboard should not be at where it is blocking the views of the drivers. When it is an engineering defect, we write to Ghana Highway Authority to comply, and then in the compliance notice we have to explicitly show you what you should do, what time you should do it, and the consequences when you don't do it. In the past, we just advise, and when they take it, there is no law binding them. There is nothing we could do to them. And so in the event of not doing what the compliance notice says you should do, then we can also ask the court for advice what to do to you, or there will be administrative penalties in the form of fines. These are the new things that the authority, the act, is bringing about, which will help promote road safety in the country.
I'm glad you've mentioned assemblies and the fact that they should assume particular responsibility. So, for example, the Accra Tamamoto, which is very close to us, that we've received constant reports that the number of potholes that are developing on a daily basis and widening on a daily basis on that stretch, leading to slowdown of vehicles, leading to some cars bursting their tires when they approach that bridge. You know that the bridge I'm talking about. Yeah. Even the fact that the axle load turn off the Tamamoto way, the truck drivers end up parking on the shoulders of the road, double parking. Why hasn't anything been done about that one in particular?
That's what I'm telling you, that there were no supervisors at the time, and now that we are the authority to supervise and to make them comply. Since 2019 that we became an authority, we needed to develop our legislative instruments that will help us do what the act says we should do. But unfortunately, COVID set in, so we couldn't do much in 2019. But as I'm talking to you now, the ILI is before the Attorney General. The Attorney General has advised us or made comments about 2 times. We are expecting that now that Parliament is on recess, it resumes maybe around September, it will pass that LI, and then we'll go into full operation. But in the meantime, we've been writing to them. So for instance, as we are saying, the pothole is an engineering defect. So we'll write to Urban Roads or Ghana Highway Authority. So whoever should look at it have to go and do it. I'll give you a time frame. We'll give you what will describe what exactly you should do. When you fail to do it within the stipulated time, there are sanctions that goes into it. But now that our ally is not around, we'll sit down at stakeholders, and then we've sat down with them, we'll engage them so that they will know what the new responsibility they have to do for good practices, for the good of public lives.
Right.
But because the ally is not there, we are doing whatever.
We are progressing cautiously. So what should we expect from now the authority engaged in road safety, and what assurances do people have? Because the number of people who are involved in ensuring that lives are not lost, bad vehicles, bad attitudes, bad roads. So it's a lot to put into one pot. What assurances are you even able to give us that these numbers will reduce in maybe the second part of the year?
Yeah, surely Rome was not built in a day. When we became an authority, we are restructuring everything. We've started with the LI, we started with engagement with major stakeholders like transport operators, like the Ghana Highway Authority, assemblies. We've engaged them. because there will be times that we need to collaborate with them to regulate the commercial transport sector. There will be some form of permitting to the regulation, so that when you don't go by the standards, you can be sanctioned, or you even be suspended from operating at all, because your operation there, which falls below the standard, people will be at risk.
And you intend to, because you've talked about 100 monitors across the country. Yeah. I mean, there's even by constituency standards, there's 275 constituencies. Yeah. So that's less than one person who has recently been employed. Do you intend to engage the public in collating information and to help you monitor events as they happen? Because if you don't have people present when the thing happens, how do you ensure that it's sorted out or resolved?
That is a good question. Actually, we are, as an authority, we are in the process of establishing an information center where the activities will be 24/7. There will be people, there will be a short code soon. We'll publicize to the publics. Everybody, when you see a defect somewhere, not even Accra, maybe up north, you call the call center, and then we'll relate the issue to the rightful stakeholder. And so once the complaints or the requests come to us and we relate to the stakeholder, we make sure we follow up with a compliance notice that you see to rectify the defect that we reported to you. So our stakeholders will surely be notified what to do at what time, and then when you don't do, sanctions will follow. So we are here to regulate the stakeholder institutions and the transport operators, so that sanity will prevail on our roads.
Thank you so much, Madam. It looks like you have your hands full, and we wish you the very best. Thanks for adding to this conversation, and we've been glad to have you. We'd also like to extend well wishes to the Minister for Employment and also the MP for South Dai. We pray that you get well soon and that we can all get back to good health so we can bring this country to where it needs to be. Remember, there is still a conversation on effective communication in marriage coming up right after this break, and Val and her guests are seated. Don't go away.
Sunday,
This is the Breakfast Show. Live from GTV.
Tone on the edge. I'm responsible for relaxing you, but the conversation we're going to have, I don't think is going to relax anybody, because it involves everyone and it involves communication, especially communication in relationships. So there's something I picked up that says communication in relationship is like a river. When thoughts and feelings flow smoothly between married partners, it's fun, feels good, and helps support everyone around. However, when communication flow is turbulent, it's potentially dangerous and destructive, and when communication gets blocked, pressure builds up. Then when the word starts flowing, they tend to come out suddenly in a damaging, raging flood. So in a capsule, that is communication. And to help us around this conversation is none other than Michelle Hammond. Michelle Hammond is an author. She's a motivational speaker. She writes music.
Yes.
And she's a relationship expert.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
To GTV Breakfast.
Thank you.
Before we start our conversation around relationships, someone says that when a woman makes money, she becomes a man. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that's true. I think some women do. You know, there's a whole women empowerment movement. There's the feminism movement. And I always tell women, you know, you don't have to do power. You're already powerful.
Okay.
So if you know what you carry and if you know the influence that you have, there's no need to grow hair on your chest. Just be excellent and do what you do and remain feminine and enjoy being a woman.
Remain feminine?
Yes.
And enjoy being a woman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let's talk about relationships and communication. Mm-hmm. We never shut up. Women never keep quiet. They say we never listening. We never listen. We always cut everybody mid-sentence. We never listen to our partners. Is it a good trait or bad trait to carry as a female into a relationship?
Well, I think that can go both ways, though. Men just have fewer vocabulary. You know, they use more words. They use less words than women do in the course of a day. So, you know, we use different sides of our brains. We have to accept the fact that we are different. However, the power of a woman to nurture, the power of a woman to empower her man has to be in place. And all we have to do is stop and listen to ourselves and think about the fact that we like to be heard.
Correct.
So everyone should be heard.
Right. If you're going to communicate, I'm talking to my partner, trying to air my differences, what I do not like or like, and he says, keep quiet, I'm talking. I'm the man. What do I do?
Keep quiet and let him finish. Now, see, this is what happens a lot of time in relationships and conversations. The person is not really listening. We hear, but we don't listen. We listen, but we don't hear. You understand?
Right.
So, what usually happens is the person is talking and we're formulating our answer before they're finished. We don't know where they're going. What do we say here? Let me land. You know, allow the plane to land and then decide if you want them to get off the plane. We can't do that unless we know exactly what they're thinking. My mother used to say, never assume anything. It just makes an ass out of you and me. Assume. So
Assume.
Yes, assume. So we should never assume that we know what a person is getting ready to say or what they're thinking, and they deserve the right to be heard just as we all do. So if you're confident enough in your position, you allow that person to finish talking. It's not a matter of if he's a man or not. As a person, everyone wants to be heard and understood.
Let them finish talking,
Yes.
and then you can speak. Are there set rules before you go into any relationship? Are there set rules governing it in terms of communication that you have to do A, B, or C before you get into a relationship? Do you have to set a rule regulator for your partner?
I don't think we should be school teachers and set rules. You should know your own personal value. You should know your own personal standards and limitations. And some of those things are communicated without you saying anything, just by the way you carry yourself and how you respond to different things. So that person actually, if they're really into you, they notice those subtleties and they align themselves with that if they want to be with you. So that goes into a whole background, though, of do you know who you are? Do you know what you want, really? You know, what are your values? What are your beliefs? What are you not willing to compromise to have that relationship? We don't spend a lot of time examining the person that is in front of us as a potential partner because, especially in these here parts, the goal is marriage. And the goal should not be marriage. The goal should be getting to know that person to see if they qualify to spend their life with you. There's a big difference.
That's a lot. That's a lot in a few words. That's a lot. What is the major rule to communication in a relationship? This is a question someone sent in. What's the major rule to communication in a relationship?
Setting the atmosphere so that the conversation flows without distraction and hindrances. Secondly, creating a safe space so that person feels safe to be transparent about how they're feeling and what they really want. You should be open to empowering them to empower themselves and to help you understand. Let's say you are the one that is offended. You now have to empower that other person to do the right thing. So sitting there and having a you did this and you did conversation doesn't solve the issue. I felt this way when this happened. Removes that person's guard. Because now it's like, oh, well, what should I do? Because most people, if they knew better, they would do better, right? So letting them know how you feel and empowering them to want to help and to do the right thing, which means you have to know what you want from that person. You can't just say you're upset and you're hurt and they should fix it. How do they fix it? Help them. Say, you know what, if you had come to me this way, I probably could have dealt with that better. Now they know how to do it the next time.
Right. So I'm going to speak for the gentlemen now. This is us saying that they never hear us out. They want us to communicate more. But then we always find ourselves giving our partners the silent treatment. I know everybody is probably guilty of that. Is the silent treatment an effective tool for communication in a relationship?
No, it's not. It opens the door for other things that you don't want to occur in the relationship. Communication is foundational, it is key, it is critical to relationships moving forward, to relationships being fruitful. I think that, you know, we're a very silent society. We don't like to talk or we talk too much. There's these two extremes. Well, there's a place in the middle where people can come together and air how they feel with grace and love. You know, you're not here for a fight. What is the goal of the relationship, of the conversation? Is it to reconcile or is it to prove a point? If it's to prove a point, you can end up proving the point and being alone. But if it's to reconcile the relationship, then you allow for that to happen by sharing how you feel in transparency. That means you've got to get vulnerable. We hate that word, the big V, right? But everyone actually wants to do the right thing. Everyone wants to be appreciated. Everyone really wants love. So with that being the mindset when you're talking to your partner, share how you feel, what you need from them, and ask, how can I help you understand where I'm coming from?
How do you know communication is not working and this is a point where, okay, we have to go our separate ways? How do you know? Because there are instances where the other partner will probably try 1,000,000 times to communicate something across the other partner and it doesn't work. How do you know communication?
Well, first of all, check yourself to make sure you communicated it effectively. Because sometimes we're talking a language that the other person doesn't understand. You really have to learn the language of your partner. Different people communicate differently. So they might have a different perception of what you said. So it's very important to get to the place where you know if they truly understood what you said. Now, that being the case, if they understand it and they're unresponsive, then you know you're in the relationship alone. And at that point, you then have to make a decision.
Righties. On that cue, our phone lines are 0302986068. You can call in, you can share your views. You can also follow our hashtag GTV Breakfast on all our social media handles. Share your comments and share our stuff. Talk to Michelle. Michelle, let's talk about you as an author, a relationship expert. Now, I'm sure people come to you and you're like, oh, I don't see a ring on your finger. You're not married. How are you a relationship expert? Better still marriage.
Well, you know, expertise does not come from experience. If you look at marriages, you'll see that. It comes from knowledge and knowledge applied.
Knowledge and knowledge applied.
Yes.
Sure.
So, you know, the Bible tells us, you know, with all you're getting, get an understanding, get wisdom. These are the chief things. And if you acquire wisdom, riches, wealth, long life, satisfaction, all that other stuff follows. So I do a lot of studying. I do a lot of counseling. And so you learn as you go. And relationships has always been my passion, so it's been my area of study. And I find it very fascinating. We go to university to learn how to handle money, how to bank, how to get careers, and no one studies the greatest career of all, which is relationships. And that career is the one that affects all your other careers, because if your heart is broken and your head isn't together, you don't function well in business, you make bad financial moves, you make bad choices across the board in your life, and yet no one studies for relationships. That's why I have Love University.
And that's a project coming up. We'll talk about university, but then your first book, which is What to Do Until Love Finds You, that was in 1997. Wow, that's a lot. If you were to write the book again, with all that's changed, all that's happening in terms of relationships, social media and all of this, would you write the book differently, or you still stick to the same rules?
No, I would stick to the same thing, because God's word, which everything that I write is based on spiritual principle. Even though I make it practical and relevant to everyday life and break it down very simply so that people aren't locked up in spirituality and no earthly good. So actually, I probably would not write it differently. Of course, I'd have to add a few more subjects now, but a few more topics. But none of the principles would change, no, because they're universal and eternal principles.
How about the couples who are willing to make it work? They realize that they have a break in their relationship because they do not communicate better. How do you build communication in a relationship?
Well, you start with being willing to listen and to hear and to be totally honest. You know, if you feel that you need an intermediary to hear you out and keep the conversation flowing in a way that's conducive to reconciliation, seek counseling. I know a lot of men don't like to seek counseling, but men, I'm just going to encourage you to do that, because it gives you a buffer. It gives you someone that will be objective in the room so that you really are heard if you're not feeling that you've been heard. And likewise for women as well.
Apart from talking to each other in a relationship, addressing your issues, and trying to probably pick the non-verbal clues as to maybe there's this bothering this person, there's this bothering this person, what should be the one way to go? If you can't communicate verbally, or you cannot pick up the clues.
What do you mean by that?
You cannot communicate verbally with your partner. For instance, your partner blocks you every time you try to communicate. Oh, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. And you cannot pick up the clues from the person's behavior, or he or she cannot pick up the clues from your behavior. Which other way should you address your concerns to your partner?
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, if they're not willing to listen to you and they're not willing to see your cues, there's nowhere the relationship can go. A decision has to be made. Two people, it takes two people to have a relationship. You can't have a relationship alone. So you understand? I mean, even we got to pray, and then we're quiet and we hear him talk back to us. So there has to be a two-way stream of conversation. If that is shut down, there's nowhere for that relationship to go. Relationships are not functions. It is interaction. It is a communion of souls.
What about partners who come from two religious backgrounds?
Well, that's always a disaster.
Is there a way past that? A Christian marriage, a Muslim marriage, Hindu, Buddhism, how does that?
I don't recommend
it.
And this is why. And I'm not saying one value is bad and the other one is good. What I'm saying is that when it comes to relationships, how can two walk together except they agree? So if you've got another set of values and this person has another set of values, there's always going to be tension, there's always going to be friction, there are always going to be fights, unnecessary things that should not be in a relationship, because life happens already. So there are many other fights you will have to fight together, and it's better if you're unified in your values, your beliefs, your standards, so that you are in the same boat when you're going through these things.
In modern day times, we've seen a lot of young relationships, young marriages crumble and go to the courts. From your perspective, what are the causes for these?
Well, most people are getting married for the wrong reasons. Especially in African society, there's great pressure to be married. And so people are just rushing to get married. Okay, I always say dating is not for mating, it's for collecting data. If someone's interested in you, you need to be collecting enough information and know if they qualify to be in your life or if you qualify to be in their life. Because, you know, it's a two-way street. Don't torture one another. If he's interested in going to some little island to minister to missionaries and you want to be a glamorous actress, your values are not in alignment, that relationship is probably not going to work. And even though chemistry is there and there's all this attraction, at some point you're going to come back down to earth to the things that really matter to you. And if you're not in agreement with those things, the relationship will dissolve.
Nana Kwame also is on the phone lines, and I believe he has some questions. Okay. Hi, Nana Kwame.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so I want to ask a simple question. There are naturally people who are introverts and they don't like really talking that much. How do you handle such people?
Right. How do you handle people, introverts, if you're dating an introvert? They don't like talking that much. How do you handle people like that?
It takes wisdom to draw deep waters.
Sure, there are some people who just will not budge, regardless. They've had their, it's just set in stone. They will not move.
But how can you have a relationship with someone who's not communicating?
Well,
you see, I mean, seriously, it's a no-win situation.
Maybe you love the person.
How? What do you know about that person? If they're not sharing anything, what do you know about them? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
You know, people go, oh, I like someone, and you go, why do you like that person? Crickets. You hear nothing. You like that person because you want to have someone in your life, but you don't know anything about the person.
And I'm sure you heard that, and that's Michelle's advice to you. Michelle, how about societal norms, especially in a Ghanaian setting where you do what your family says, you follow, I mean, the family has done this, and then you decide to wave off a bit, and then it becomes a big issue. I mean, let's talk about that. How do you
feel? So first of all, I have to qualify because I know you're listening to my American accent and you're saying, oh, this is an American woman telling Ghanaians how to live. But I'm actually Ghanaian, so let's get that straight. I've just been abroad a long time, but I am Ghanaian. I have a Ghanaian father. He's gone on to be with the Lord, but I'm Ghanaian. Okay, so that being said, I think that we have to really look at what culture does to us. Culture is wonderful, but it can also be destructive. Tradition is wonderful, but it can also be destructive. And the world is shifting around us, and adjustments have to be made. Certain principles and foundational things will always be in place, yes. But now we live our lives the way we do quite differently from that of our parents. Okay? Before, when they got married, they made it work. For them, there was no option of getting out. You got married, you made it work. And I think that they were more committed to their commitments than we are today. And that's because of economics. Most of us now can carry our own weight, women and men. So women are like, I don't have to put up with that anymore. So the willingness to really work and problem solve in relationships is not where it used to be. Okay, so now you've got a family intervening. The one thing that I do speak against is when a woman is in an abusive situation and her family says, oh, stay there and pray. No, get out. Because what are you going to say when that woman ends up dead? Or her children learn how to be abusers or to become attracted to abusers. So there are certain things that are not acceptable Michelle, just because of tradition and culture.
How are people attracted to abusers?
Well, if they've been in a household that where abuse has been there, your nurture becomes your nature. Whether you like it or not, that becomes your norm. And in somewhere in your mind, even if you don't like it, it's your normal, and you're attracted to your normal. So your mind literally has to be renewed to say, this is unacceptable behavior, and I will not allow this to continue. We like to talk about generational curses here a lot. That's not really in effect anymore since Christ.
I'm sure a lot of people,
that's a whole other conversation.
Sure, yes,
that's a whole other conversation. But let me just say that we have more generational habits and generational stupid going on than generational curses. So
okay, say that again really slowly. Really slowly, so I don't have to repeat it.
Okay. What we have going on is generational habits and generational stupid more than generational curses. What do I mean by that?
Sure.
What I mean is that based on our normal, we repeat what we see our parents doing, whether we liked it or not, and we reap the same consequence. That's not a curse. That is just a cause and effect, okay? So it's very, very important for us to understand that. There's a story about a little girl who was watching her mother cook a ham, and the mother cut off both ends of the ham, and she asked her mother, why do you do that? And she said, well, my mother always did it. So the little girl called Grammy and said, Grammy, why do you cut the ends off of the ham? And she said, oh, baby, back in the day, my pot was only so big, so I had to cut it off. So the mother had been doing this all this time, thinking it was something that should be done, and it wasn't. It was what fit the pan at the time. And the same thing happens in our lives with our families. We watch certain behaviors play out, and we end up doing the same thing. If generational curses were really true, then how do you explain when someone in that family decides they want to do life that way and they break out of it? So what happened to the other two people who did what they saw in the house? We all have the power to take our lives into our own hands and change the scenario.
Okay, so what would be that one quote we could have from this conversation for our viewers to take home with them when it comes to communication in relationships?
Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, in order to have a sound and healthy relationship that's moving forward and fruitful, and I don't mean just babies, I'm talking about financial security, happiness, and all the other things that should be in place in a relationship, communication is critical and very, very necessary. I know that there are people who are shy, but smart people know how to draw those people out. And if you get to a place where you're with someone who's not communicative, it stalls the relationship.
And that's it in a nutshell, guys. Anything to add, FT?
Where can we find your books?
On Amazon.com.
Fantastic.
Or on my website at michellehammond.com.
Awesome.
There's a project coming up, the Love University.
Yes. I have a new semester starting at the end of September. They can go to my website, michellehammond.com, to find out more information on Love University and Love Capsules.
Just for you to give us a little insight, what's happening at the Love University? And what happens when you take the Love Capsules?
Well, you get healthy. You get healthy. It nurtures your soul and your heart. The Love Capsules is a subscription format so that you will get 3 lessons in your email every week for a year. Okay?
Sure.
The Love You Masterclass is an intensive for 3 months with 6 masterclasses live with me and pre-taped lessons from Monday through Friday for the 3 months. So it's actually 60 lessons and 6 master classes.
Wow. And so we want more information on this. We can go onto your website,
Yes.
Michelle Hammond.
michellehammond.com.
And then get all the information.
Yes.
All right, guys. This has been us on the Yellow Couch GTV Breakfast. We've been speaking with Michelle Hammond. Is an author, a motivational speaker, relationship expert. She doubles as a songwriter as well, and we've been having an interesting conversation.
Multi-talent.
Yeah, multi-talented. An interesting conversation on relationship, how to maintain it, and how to keep the rapport up. Thank you, guys. You can still continue this conversation via our Facebook page and all other social media handles by just following the hashtag GTV Breakfast and sending your comments and all your supplications, guys.
So just to tell you that we do have a lot of attention on the matter of the priest kissing the
I'm sure
the ladies.
Unacceptable.
That's all.
Irresponsible and unacceptable.
Oh, well.
And they should shut that down right away.
Shut the
So
Shut it down.
there's a release that I'm seeing, and if we can verify that, then that would be good. Internal Province of Ghana Anglican Communion, and they are basically saying it would be investigated immediately, and that investigation has started, and the said priest will be dealt with in accordance with the norms and values of the Anglican Communion, where morality is extremely revered in the church. So hopefully we'll get some you know, and a good end to that matter going on there. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy birthday, Jess Fletcher in London. Yesterday was your birthday. I'm so grateful for you in my life.
Belated birthday to Reverend Odonko.
Me
all
too.
The birthday
Mine
wishes
was last week.
Oh, belated
birthday to you too.
One should never rub bottoms with a porcupine.
What does that mean?
That's our proverb for the day.
Porcupines are spikes. So if you're there,
I guess they should never use their position for their own fantasies. Stick to the word.
That is right. And one takeaway from you,